What is going on, YouTube world? Steve, Vinny, Robert, Carlos. And I'm Dave. This is the Insert Revolution podcast, episode number 166. Do a little NFL talk, a little NFL chatter from the week that was. Super wild card weekend, and see what's going on in everybody's world, and the usual, see where everything takes us. So, how's everybody doing? And enjoying the weather?
No. Nobody's enjoying the weather. We may have another guest who will appear at some point.
I'm happy that the hoodie has a place for my hands to be. My hands are very cold. Not a big fan. Not a fan.
Is that a hot in the summer, cold in the winter kind of room, Carlos?
Oh, the main floor is always like that. I did invest this past year in the heat pump. Life has changed, but a heat pump can only commit so many miracles. It is currently pumping hot air. So I would actually be a frozen block of ice if it were not for the heat pump. Like just physical frozen block of ice.
Invest in chisels. Right?
Bob, it's not a joke that I have in fact had sub-zero temperatures in this main floor in years past. And in fact, during the wintertime, I do not need the refrigerator to keep my beer cold. I simply leave it on the floor.
That saves electricity, right?
It very much does. Yeah.
Keeping costs low. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
We're efficient here. We're trying to be environmentally friendly.
Unplug the refrigerator, turn off the fridge, and open the door. Right there you go.
Oh, a refrigerator in winter in Canada is just silly talk. It's called a cabinet. It's refrigerator cabinet, same thing.
Right. Garage shelf, also known as second refrigerator.
Yeah.
Well, normally it's not that cold here, but it has been the last few days. So yes,
we got drinks sitting out.
I think it's been cold snap in a lot of places. Actually, it's been pretty chilly.
Yeah, I drove home 8 hours on a bus from Indiana today, and the weather report back home was that they had already had like 3 inches of snow. So as we kept getting, she's like, "Let me know when you get to the snow," and I never got there. And it just like we stayed on the same rate as the storm, I guess, because it was just sunny all the way home. But now that I'm here, yeah, niece went sled riding for the first time this year. They had no school today. They already have a 2-hour delay for tomorrow because it's supposed to be like sub-zero temperatures. So, but that's all. Like snow days ain't like they used to because they all have Chromebooks and they just post assignments and you have to do them while you're home. So it's kind of a ripoff, if you ask me.
This is true. Yeah, back in our youth, snow day meant nothing. Like you were at home.
That's it.
I'm not even completely convinced it meant that. I literally remember walking through a blizzard to and from school. And I'm sitting there like, do we even... My problem is where I lived, I was too close for the bus. So they would cancel the bus, but they'd be like, well, you still got to go. Wait, what the hell? It's going to take me 25 minutes to walk. It's like, it's a fucking blizzard outside. What the hell are we doing here? If I was further away, I'd be okay. Jerks.
When I was in high school, the rule was if one bus couldn't get to the stop, then nobody went to school. So, and we had some people in the sticks. So that was good. Yeah.
Bob,
that worked out.
Do not care. They're like, walk through the blizzard. Child, go.
See, if the buses couldn't go, there was no school for us.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I can't relate to anywhere up north or northeast or further north because normally we don't get the frozen precipitation that others do. But like it had to be bad. In other words, if the buses couldn't go, there was no school, period.
I've had 36
So-
years of practice here in Canada, and no, I'm still not good. Still, it's like, oh, you get no, I don't. Never got used to it. Still no, still hate it. Born in Panama,
So,
alive. They hate this crap. It's trash.
Being from Texas, Steve, I imagine you had the longest bus ride. What was like,
No,
or no,
I never had to ride the bus.
you were driving at 13. I thought.
No. Always had somebody to take me, or
That's good. Me too.
or I lived close enough to where I could walk, which was never fun.
Never had that.
20 degrees or whatever, but I didn't have to walk in a blizzard like Carlos did, because
Both ways.
If we had blizzards here, there was definitely no school.
Bob, that day it was both ways because the blizzard didn't end. You go there in the blizzard, it's still a blizzard when you get back. I was like, and even at the time, I'm like, this is the dumbest thing. Like, I'm looking out there and it's like, whoosh, and I'm like, why? Why can't we take the day off? Like, this is stupid. It's like, well, you can. Visibility is okay. Really? Are you sure it's okay? I don't think it's okay. Fortunately, I was young and I healed eventually for the frostbite.
When was that, Dave? The 1 year? God, I know it's been a few years ago, where you actually like walked to work, and you sent a picture, and your whole face was, all your beard was freaking frozen.
Oh, yeah, that was probably what, 3-4 years ago. There's been plenty of too. It's just like it's 25-30 below, then the wind chill's like 45-50 below, and I'm out there walking and I'm like, oh, this is first like 4 blocks, you're like, okay, I'm not bad. Then you like take the turn and then the wind is coming that direction. You're like,
shoot me now.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's plenty of like the snow too. The only time it would have been like the April of like 2008. We got like 2 feet of snow in April. And all I had was like, so I just moved out and got a different place, and all I had for a shovel was like a fucking spade shovel, and I'm in the upstairs. And so like I try to open the door and I'm like, well, this is gonna be fun. And like I did a path down the stairs again, and walked the 6 or 7 blocks to my mom's. I'm like, she's gotta have a shovel somewhere. Nope, garage was locked. Nope, back door. I'm like, good. I didn't need a shovel anyway, I guess. I'll walk back, and trying to walk, and it was not fun.
He had to dig himself out of the Overlook Hotel. He had to dig himself out all by himself. Like,
yeah, it was not. I'm not
Bob
keen
got
on
that reference. Bob got that reference.
It was actually a question on Jeopardy tonight. What movie was it from?
Oh, nice. Okay. Good timing, I guess.
Absolutely. They taped one Jeopardy for me, and I got Final Jeopardy. Othello. What is Othello? That was the answer. There was a stage play question, and I was trying to just pick one random known stage play. I first said Hamlet. Well, you knew it was Shakespeare, so I said Hamlet, and I was like, nah, that's too easy. I'll just say Othello. So it was a blind guess, but I still got it, and I still take credit for it.
Out of all the plays, that's the one you pick.
Well, dude, there was a 1980s pro wrestler category tonight. So Macho Man, you had to know Macho Man's, like, you had to know Randy Savage's nickname. You had to know about Hulkamania. The $2,000 question or the $1,000 question was about what event in 1993 was the third installment, in which this, like 92,000 people were there or something, which I was like, WrestleMania 3. So my mom was giving me like the stink eye over her shoulder, like yelling out answers that she has no clue what I'm talking about. So it felt reassuring, since they get all the ones about geography and like rulers and kings and monarchs and stuff. I can never get that stuff. My dad's the American history guy. So, like, as I said this before, I'll make the joke again. Between the three of us, we're like half a player.
Nice.
I just said it was a good joke. So yeah, that's about it.
I think to Orlando's question, I think everybody's got a chance now. Everybody who's still in the tournament has at least got a chance because this season's been weird anyway. Even the dominant teams, you can't really trust them. Like I joke with it is that we got a couple of our picks wrong. I'm not picking against the Packers in these games because I'm rooting against the Packers. I'm picking against them because on paper the other team should be able to do something. But weird stuff happens.
Yep.
I can't just automatically go, oh yeah, for sure. Like everybody's like, oh well, you know, Dallas always chokes in the butt. Well, that's true, but it's going to keep happening until one day. One day they're not going to. But you don't know when that day will be. So you just have to look at the matchup itself. The Packer defense is actually quite bad, but fortunately, Dallas sucks. So fine, we'll take it. I'm not complaining.
Has anybody peeked at the Baker Mayfield card market? I haven't. I just was curious to see if there's been any kind of swing. I mean, because it's not just like this is like in the last week. Like, has there been any kind of uptick over the last several weeks?
Well, there's been an uptick for sure. I can say I've looked into a couple of the quarterbacks because I was out of curiosity. I wanted to kind of see what was going on with that. Jordan Love obviously is taken off. Yeah, he's done very well. Like if you had bought Jordan Love,
CJ stuff.
CJ absolutely. Now the problem with CJ is that there isn't as much stuff.
Correct.
Which in some ways helps. That's good in a way. But in another way, like if you want, even if you're somebody who wants to buy, you're like, okay, so what am I buying? You've only got a limited amount of choices.
It's just not a bit. It's just not out yet, right?
Yeah, or they haven't released a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem. So that's an issue. What I can say is that case study in the Jordan Love thing specifically. Earlier in the year, I bought a bunch of Jordan Love on COMC. So I was loading up on a bunch relatively cheap. At the beginning of the season was a little bit high. Then it took a little bit of dip when they did a slide because this season has been roller coaster, like very much roller coaster all over the place. So for me, preseason, I kind of predicted 5 wins because I figured regression. And at one point they were 2-5 and it looked like a perfectly reasonable pick. And then they reel off a bunch of wins against legit teams. And then they lose against teams they should beat. And then they squeak into the playoffs. And then of course they destroyed Dallas, as you do, obviously. Makes perfect sense. Of course. But during that whole run, I picked up, Phoenix is one of the Panini brands that has a bunch of parallels, like a lot of the Panini brands do. There's a Fanatics exclusive, whatever. I just think they're pretty cards. I think they're nice looking cards.
It's card stock too, right? Isn't it like if I remember the Phoenix?
Yeah. They're nice looking cards. There's like I said, a million parallels. I just like the way they look. I was able to pick up a PSA 10 on COMC during the season for $28. So it's a Jordan Love Phoenix parallel in a PSA 10 for $28. Well, of course, after this game happened, I had priced it up to about $100. It's like, boom, snapbot. I was like, all right, good enough. But here's what happened. So I sell it for $100 on COMC. And then I go and look over and somebody had a CGC 9.5 in the old holder for $28. So I just go buy a 9.5. So I sold the one for $100. Bought the 9.5 Gem Mint, which is a Gem Mint 9.5 for $28. And now I'm sending it in to be reholder and it's going to get switched over to the CGC 10. Bought for $28, sold for $100, bought the CGC 10 for $28. So I still get the card and I was able to make the money on the card. So thank you, Jordan. Thank you, flipping folk. You do your thing, guys. This is working out great. I appreciate you, bros.
You must be watching a lot of influencers on YouTube to learn how to do all that stuff, man.
Yeah, I watch Because I'm Carlos. That's the guy I follow. It's not that hard. It ain't that hard. I was just like, look, man, you guys want to buy it I bought it for $28. You want to buy it for $100 by all means. I literally went and looked at the other ones. I'm like, I'll take that, sure. 9.5 Gem Mint for that. It's still the same Gem Mint. They'll switch it. It was $8 to get it reholdered. So okay, I'll get reholdered in the CGC 10. So I'll get back a 10, and because
so why did it get the bump? Is that do they do?
It's not.
You say it's 9.5, but that'll come
not a bump. The CGC changed its.
So what? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
There is no
old
9.5
label
anymore.
versus new label. Old label versus new label. So in reality, Bob, what I did is I just went and looked at it. I go, literally, I looked at it. I said, that's the 9.5 Gem Mint in the old label. Well, they switched that over to the 10.
Okay, another question, label related. Has there ever been any SGC red labels, like
No,
with red on? Would be looking really old. So nothing, right? They've never had anything red. It's always green. Right?
I've seen blue labels. I've seen the, of course, we got the pristine gold labels, the gold green labels. I haven't seen a red one that I'm aware of.
Because it was one of these cheap, same aesthetic, right? The framing and all that, same font even, but it was red and it just said SGC, but then like fine print off to the side, like sports, or car or something like added, which just enough to differentiate it, I guess. But yeah,
not that I'm aware of. Honestly, not that I'm aware of. I'm look. They did some weird stuff in the '90s. I'm not going to say no. They did some weird stuff in the '90s.
Well, no,
but it would have to be very limited.
I saw it at the show I was at. Yeah, I held it in my hand. I was like, I don't think this is legit because it had an Ichiro rookie in it that Jason was looking at. I'm like, I don't think that's legit, man.
Yeah, the blue ones I've seen. Yeah, so that one I've seen for sure. That was the UD graded. I've definitely seen that. I actually think I have the same card, Steve. I actually think I got the Bledsoe. I picked that up years ago, but that was UD graded. I remember that one for sure. The blue label I remember totally. The red one though, I have no recollection of that one. But yeah, but here's the thing. Bottom line, I'm not taking too much of a victory lap. I'm just saying from a common sense standpoint. They say buy the card, not the grade, all that stuff. I'm sitting there. It's Gem Mint,
right?
And I knew that they had changed the labels. So I'm sitting there like, okay, if you guys want to buy the PSA 10 and you want to pay me a premium, I accept your tribute, and then I'll just go rebuy back the card for 30%. And it's like I want a copy, but I'll take it to the CGC. I like the holder. I'll just reholder it and get it in the nicer holder, and I'm happy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So thank you. I've still got the card. And
good business.
The other person I'm sure is happy with their PSA 10. Muzzle tough. Best of luck to you.
Pretty much. Going off of what you were talking about.
Yeah, I didn't get my.
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead, Miss Steve. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I just was saying I didn't get much Jordan Love, so it's nice to see somebody's out there, able to make some moves with him.
I tried to grab a couple
because that's what I'd be doing with him. That's what I'd be doing with him if I did have him.
Yeah, I grabbed one. I was able to grab one RPA before it like really bumped up. Like I went and checked the Contenders Auto. The Contenders Auto's gone crazy. That's definitely one for sure. Kind of go back to what Steve was asking. The Contenders Auto's definitely gone off. There was I'll be honest. I made one misplay and I had the chance, and I probably should have done it. The Contenders Autos, they've got the printing plates for that one, but the printing plates are autographed. The printing plate was on eBay for like $450. Buy it now. A couple of weeks ago. And I was like, ooh. I was literally looking. It's like Steve. I was looking at it. I was like, ooh, that. And in retrospect, that'd be pretty. That'd be a pretty sweet plum right there. That'd be a primo. That'd be pretty solid.
This is true. This is true.
Always hit the like button, and don't forget Eric pays for it. So always hit the like button.
Yes, Eric still pays, regardless of what show.
Always at all times. These are facts. But yeah, I play around with it, like common sense. We're in the. I've been listening to a couple of the last episodes you guys have done. I joked it because I did an episode with Scott where he was talking about a lot of this stuff. Scott is trying to get his head around the idea of selling cards. That's like my dude. Listen, I don't mind spending money on cards, but it makes more sense to I'm not sitting there worried, spending every waking moment worrying about, oh my God, the flips. However, if I see an obvious opportunity or something that feels like it's a good opportunity, I literally just said that I bought a card, sold the card, and bought back the exact same card in an equivalent grade for a fraction and literally profited on the transaction. AKA, now I have more money in my COMC account to purchase other items that I wish. What is wrong with that? That to me sounds like very sound financial strategy here.
Well, and that's the thing. We've all talked about this at some point. As a collector, we are still collectors. However, the whole objective is to self-fund the hobby, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you're not having to take money out of what you would pay your bills with in order to acquire said stuff, whether it be for your collection or to flip for that matter.
Mhm.
But, I don't know. I guess I think I'm more in line with like you, Carlos, to a degree where outside of like Terrell Davis stuff or like the Broncos auto collection, that type of stuff,
Mhm.
everything's free game.
Sure.
If the opportunity presents itself and it gives me an opportunity to make a few bucks, whether that means put it in savings, pay off a bill, buy something else, why not take advantage of it?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's not money out of your pocket. But on the flip side, like, as a collector that has never thought about selling anything, they do all their stuff via trades or whatever.
Mhm.
I could see how it could pose a mental challenge or a mental debate on, am I wrong for wanting to try and sell stuff? No.
Right.
It's never wrong.
I think the way I like to phrase it is that I will never tell you how you're supposed to feel. That is not my job. You can feel however you want to feel. And here's the thing: I can't tell you wrong. You're telling me how you feel. That's your deal. You feel however you feel about whatever. So I accept that. So that's fine. And look, trust me, I like to argue, but I'm not going to argue about your feelings because I can't. I'm sorry, they're your feelings, not mine. So and I'm a cold-hearted bastard in a lot of cases. So I'm very calculated in what I do. But that means that, yeah, I've got my stuff that I collect. And for many years, I literally use the analogy with Scott. It's like for many years, I went, I worked, I did my job, and then I literally throw money into the pit. Well, it's kind of nice sometimes to throw money into the pit and have a little bit come back. It's not a terrible thing. It's like, no, that I haven't even tried to self-fund the hobby really until maybe the last year or two where I've done a little bit. And honestly, it isn't dollar for dollar, but the balance is starting to shift a little bit. Because I was able to have some fun. I was able to enjoy, I like the AEW cards. I talked about that. I got to open a 20-box case in 2023 and 2024. Do you have any idea how much fun that was for me? I got to have a lot of fun. And I got all my money back and then some. That's awesome. That was fantastic. I was able to open everything and I was able to keep. And the second half, the 10-box case that I opened this past week, I've sold maybe about 5 cards. And I have made my money back on 10 hobby boxes that I opened. And I have a 1 of 1 that I still have right here that I've kept.
Yeah, that doesn't happen most of the time.
It does not. But it was an opportunity. But again, opportunity. It was a situation where the price point that I was able to buy these boxes at was such that it made sense for me not only to get them, but to open them, pull whatever I pulled, take my shot. I like to gamble a little bit. It was a reasonable price. And I was able to do that. And in the end, I literally sent off 10 packages today. And I have already gotten back 100% of everything that I paid for those boxes and then some. And I'm like, guys, that's a win. And I still got a stack of crap here that I got to get rid of. That's a win.
That's what everybody wishes for in those situations.
Yeah. And I don't expect it. But when it happens, I'm not going to say no. Thank you.
Well, hell no. I've done that multiple times, hoping for the same situation, and I've never been that lucky. And I can probably say at that time I got stuff for close to cost in certain situations, and still was freaking upside down. So
well, that's unfortunately the situation in the current. It's too difficult. Like the price is too high relative to it. And I started broaching that subject on my channel and also kind of on my friends that run the card shop. We broached that topic a little bit, but it's going to hurt the card shops too, because they're sitting there going like, we have to buy all this shit and we know we can't sell it. And eventually we have to dump it off. And it's not because we're sitting there, we want to dump it off. It's that it doesn't move, but the distributor is basically making us buy it, which isn't fair.
Yeah,
and your buddies RBI Crew 7. Yeah. And your buddies RBI Crew 7 on their podcast this week touched on briefly, really quickly touched on that same thing from the perspective of the concerns they have with Upper Deck and their 180-day. You can't tell anybody the price. All these ridiculous rules they came up with to make it harder for you to move the product and get it out the door.
Yep.
And then they're going to do, I talk about the AEW. I'm able to take advantage of this because the shit doesn't sell for a lot of these dealers. They can't sell it. Well, Upper Deck's about to come out with Upper Deck Black Diamond AEW. That's coming. Good luck. That's a high-end product, and you're struggling to sell the base product? Oh,
Yeah, so let's take it up a notch and see how well that goes for you, right?
Steve, brace yourself for Upper Deck AEW box opening coming to my second channel near you. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Well, I don't remember when it was, a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was last week. I don't know. Vinny on his soapbox talking about, prison football, this year's prison football, and being almost like $900 a hobby, $900 a hobby box. And it's cheaper than what it has been in years prior, but
It's
more
still
expensive.
unjustifiably high. It's still unjustifiably high. It's way too high.
Considering the fact that no Stroud auto,
Mhm.
and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Richardson has an auto in it either.
I don't believe so. I think he's got the exclusive with Fanatics as well.
And then Will Levis, no auto.
Mhm.
So yeah, okay, that's great. I can get what's his nuts from Texas, Bijan Robinson, which he's a badass. He's a stud.
Sure.
But we all know from a football perspective, your quarterbacks is what pushes the price point of a product.
Yep.
That's always what pushes the price point. Great rookie crop of quarterbacks, maybe not in the wins columns across the board, but,
Sure.
From an overall performance perspective, they all played very well when they played.
Mm-hmm.
That product could have been $1,200 or $1,300 a box if they had autographs. But why would you put the price point for your main guys not having autographs in the product? I mean, that in itself is like stupid.
Yep. I agree. I think it's because right now they've still got the breakers to make up the difference. Just
absolutely.
Make a long story short. But the problem is eventually, so the reason I broached it last week is not because it's a new concept. We all know this is a long thing. It's been a long time coming. The system, I literally said that in the title of the podcast episode, I said the system is broken, but it's always been broken to a certain degree. It's been broken for a long time. But unfortunately, the COVID bump exacerbated it, and they haven't readjusted back down because now the buyers are more weary. They are not throwing the money in the way they once did, and the product is still priced like this. The breakers are offsetting it because instead of having to buy a $900 hobby box, you're buying, Broncos. Well, the Broncos section of that is not going to be crazy. It's, you can probably get it for a much more reasonable price. And if you open a case and you pull a couple of nice Broncos cards, you're probably happy. That's fine. Your relative cost per is not so bad. Or a random team. If you do random team and you break it up into little chunks, little pieces, maybe you pull the amazing card. Maybe you get the right team or whatever it is. Cool. Good times. Maybe you don't get a CJ Stroud auto, but maybe you get a CJ Stroud silver or a nice numbered one or whatever. That's still good money. Like that's still there's value.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But that's offsetting you. What it's doing is it's buying you more time. But in the long run, the idea that the manufacturer builds it in, they're squeezing every penny. Then the distributors do, and the distributors playing the games. We're like, yeah, I only have a 1 case allocation for you. And then like 2 weeks later, hey, we found more cases, but we doubled the price. That bullshit is what kills the market eventually. It makes it so high that it, like I said, it's not a sustainable model. It's not fair. It's not fair to the collector. It's not fair to the dealer who's sitting there like, they don't want to rip you off per se, but I have the advantage that I can literally look. I've received the emails with the sell sheet and the cost, literally the cost from the distributor level. And I'm looking at it and I literally told them flat out, I wouldn't even pay the cost for that because it doesn't make any sense. And that's from the distributor. So if the cost is too high, then what are you going to do if you're the dealer?
Well, and costs have not increased to the point that justifies the overall increase in price either.
Mhm.
Costs have gone up. Yes, we all recognize it. It happens.
Yeah.
Costs go up. Welcome to the real world.
I've seen the Amish Dave Archer appearance fees. They're not what they were a couple of years ago.
But on the flip side, they haven't like they're not 2 times, 3 times
Mhm.
to manufacture stuff than what it
Yeah.
did 2, 3, 4. Like no.
Mhm.
And that's ultimately what they're doing. But on the flip side, and you bring up the breakers, and this is always the valid point. Manufacturers are doing this relying on the breakers.
Mhm.
It's all reliant on the breakers.
It is now. Yeah.
And guess what? You have too many breakers that are doing shady shit. They all disappear. You have no breakers. What are you going to do then?
Yeah. And even for the breakers, like the margins, like the reason the backyard breaks and the randos are starting to do those repack products is because even for the breakers, the price doesn't make sense anymore. When the breakers are saying, what the breakers are telling you, in effect, is that the price doesn't make any sense anymore. Like that should be alarm bells going off at Panini headquarters at Top/Fanatics head. If the breakers are effectively telling you this is a ripoff and we cannot con our audience to buy this shit and fill the breaks, what does that tell you?
That would require people to have common sense.
I agree, but that the reason why I decided to broach the topic these past couple of weeks is we've seen it heading in this direction. I said, okay, it's about to come to a head. That's why I say I appreciated the timing. It was great. And then the RBI crew guys touched on it briefly in their podcast, and I'm like, yes, I beat you by 1 week. I got out in front of that one a little bit. So, but then I did it on my thing, and then I also did it with the AMG thing, the thing that I'm doing with those guys, because they were uncomfortable because they have to be very careful because they have a distributor relationship they need to talk about. But I said, trust me, this is a good topic to talk about. We need to touch on it from the dealer perspective a little bit because people don't understand that this is something you guys are facing every single day and every single week. Every time the sheet comes out, you got to go money, 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 money. No guarantee you're going to sell out the shit. And then you got to bring it in, and you have to buy stuff. Look, they're in Canada. They're over on the coast. CFL does not sell there. There's no CFL team there, Steve. There's no CFL team, but they're required to buy cases of CFL. What are they supposed to do with it? Kindling? Oh, it's cold today. We're going to use it for fire. What are you supposed to do with it?
See, that's the one thing I never understood how distributors could basically hold dealers by the balls.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And to get allocation of A, B, and C, you also have to buy D, E, F, and G.
Correct.
Or you're not getting shit.
Yes.
And I've known about that for a long time.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not reinventing the wheel out here. All I'm doing is just explaining like the reality of it. But I go, it's always been like that.
Oh yes.
But now, because the buying has slowed down, a lot of these dealers do not have the cash flow. Do not be shocked. The reason I'm bringing it up at this point, I go in 2024, there's a lot of these dealers who do not have the cash flow to keep this wheel spinning. As soon as the wheel grinds to a halt, the whole thing starts to fall apart.
Yep. And that's the unfortunate.
And it's a bad game. It's a bad game. It will not turn out well if you keep this nonsense going. The distributors need to understand. It's like, you understand, if you kill your own customer base, who the hell's going to buy this shit? The breakers are starting to give up. The breakers are beginning to give up. Then what are you going to do?
Well, and that's been something that's been brought up about Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. They've kind of started doing the same thing because they do a lot of their stuff through distribution, just like, unless you're whatever they call it, an official store or whatever, they get allocation through WotC. Mm-hmm. But most of it is all through distribution anyways.
Yep.
But that it's the same situation. Distributors do the same thing for TCG stuff as they do for sports cards, which is why it's actually hit like the game stores before it has started hitting the card shops.
Mhm.
So it's like, hello, folks, Panini, Topps, Upper Deck. Pay attention to what they've done over here and looked at how many cards or gaming stores closed. You're doing the same thing. What makes you think that more are going to pop up? Like 50 close, you think another 100 are going to mysteriously pop up? Like, no, it's not going to happen.
Nobody has the cash to play. It's if you look at what those invoices look like I said, the advantage of being associated to a shop, especially a shop that does a lot of boxes and volume, is that you get a chance to look at the invoices. You get a chance to see the numbers, the actual numbers behind it. And you sit there and look like, how much are you guys outlaying on to get these boxes? And you sit there and you're like, the math doesn't math after a while. Like that's those numbers don't add up. So you have to be really good. You better be well installed in your community and your local buyers and everything, because they're going to have to carry a heavy load. They're help basically keeping you going, because
and hope you have decent terms.
Correct.
Credit terms, because you know, like net 30 in a lot of these situations, that's not always advantageous if you're having to cough out, you know, $15,000-$20,000 for X amount of products for this week or whatever. Like to cough that up and pay it out in 30 days, you better hope for 45 or 60 days. And
but you know what's that's funny, Steve? This reminds me specifically of like an old life when I used to work retail. In effect, what I've become in a certain way, in a small scale, is I used to work at a liquidation store. And what they used to do is they would buy pallets and truckloads of stuff, and their job, and they would resell it. Yeah, and they would resell it by the pallet and by the tractor trailer full of media, you know, DVDs and Blu-rays and all kinds of stuff. Like if you went to Walmart and you saw all that shit in those bins, they were buying that and selling to Walmart. So Walmart's selling it like $1, $2, $5 a piece. They're buying it like 12 cents a piece and selling it to them for like $1 a piece. So they're doing well on their end of it. And I worked inside there, and they had the warehouse on the other side of it. But what's funny, come like 15 years later, when I'm dealing with the stuff in the store, like with that AEW stuff, in effect, I'm operating as a very tiny liquidation store. I'm actually being like, I will actually buy this from you for this price. I will take a case or two, or like inner case at a time. Again, I'm operating at a small scale, but at least I'm buying it. At least I'm paying for it, and then it's off your books, and you at least have that cash back in your pocket to then refill into other categories. Series 1 was sold out. They sold thousands of boxes of Series 1. It flew off the shelf. Series 2 will do very well too, but they need to have the allocation. Otherwise, the money doesn't come in. That product will sell extremely well. The CFL stuff will not sell well. The AEW stuff does not sell well for them. Like, it just doesn't sell. I think they were proud when they sold a box in the store. Well, I've opened 20 boxes. So I've literally 20x'd their sales in that particular product. But yeah, I'm one person though. I'm not trying to operate it as a business, but at the same time, like, yeah, okay, for me, it makes sense because I'm buying at a price point that allows me to do that. But if you don't have that, then it just collects dust. What good does that do you? You bought this inventory, and what the hell good does it do you sitting on the shelf?
Costing you money.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. It's costing you money, literally.
And it's business. But that's business. Like, I'm not reinventing the wheel out here. Like, it's math. Let me grab me a calculator. That's all it is. This is math.
Yep. No, right there with you. Right there with you. Dave, any comment? Are you just enjoying just listening?
Oh, I'm enjoying listening because, again, it at some point you knew the greed of the hobby was going to fucking push people away. I mean, you can't have basic fucking boxes running $300-$400 when, guess what? Your average ROI, no matter what it is, doesn't make any sense on that price point. I mean, we've talked about it across all of our shows before. It's like, you don't buy a box expecting to get X amount back, like your dollar value you put into it. But at the same time, if you're getting $900,000 for a box of Prism, you pretty much have to hit one of the top rookie finites, and then or a gold auto of somebody of quality. So yeah, it's nothing new, but
Mhm.
I'm glad people are starting to finally like fucking crack open their shades on their windows and see the light. Like, do we need to spend that much?
Mhm.
Do we need to? It's like at some point you can't sit there and tell people it's not worth the money. Well, no, I have a chance. Well, okay, you do have a chance, but that chance isn't very good. You got a better chance of winning the lotto than buying a couple cases of Prism and hitting something monstrous. So, and then like the team breaks, it's even back in the day, which again, value was there obviously, but you 5-6 times what you were paying back then 10, 12 years ago, and the stuff was cooler back then from our vantage point. Even again, you have the RPAs, and yeah, there's like we go back, we talk about that '08 gridiron gear. I don't know how many box breaks 2, 3, 4 years after the fact that when that came out, you could still find. And I mean, it wouldn't cost. Let's say you had maybe like a 6 box run of it. It wasn't more than like what, $28 to $35 for a random team, and that might be even pushing it.
Around there.
So I mean, and that's, let's say you get the Ravens, you get the Falcons. I mean, even if you don't hit a Ryan or a Flacco, you hit somebody that had cool patches or a low numbered auto, or it was just fun stuff to open. Now you watch the breakers, they don't care about 90% of the cards. And that's where when you start turning the hobby in that direction, when it's money and you don't care about it, something unless it's the massive hit. Then you start turning off the people that actually give a shit about cards for the reason of it being cards, instead of I want to push something, I want to get it, and then I want to sell it. Well, a lot of times that doesn't work, and these people still haven't been like led to believe that's possible. It's like, no, my news feed is filled with all these big hits, and all these chasers are getting knocked out of the park, and well, that's not how the hobby works. But if that's what you want to live in, that hobby bubble, that by all means, I'll push that bubble into the black hole and hopefully never to be seen again.
Yeah, '08 gridiron gear was probably one of my favorite inner case opening, because I'm pretty sure it was a 16 box master case, 2 8-box innards. And you actually had a quote unquote case hit per inner case. But that was, you of course opened it for the rookies. I mean, yes, they had superstar autos, but everything was sticker. But anything that was current player that was a patch was game used.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, all the rookie stuff was player worn, but that's always been the thing. The minute they introduced jerseys and memorabilia cards for rookies, it was player worn. Like, unless it was later products and somehow the manufacturers got a hold of a game worn jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Unusual, but it could happen from time to time. But, and it's hard to put things into perspective. 2008 was definitely different compared to what it is now, or even pre-pandemic, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I opened product in 2010, 2011. And prices had increased some, nowhere near what they were, post pandemic or during the pandemic. But at the same time, it's getting to the point to where it's almost unaffordable in a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And and one of the old school YouTubers always, Wilkie's brother, K Midas, always talked about, why go spend money on brakes to get a chance at something? Just go buy the cards. You'll save money.
Mm-hmm.
And in essence, that's probably the best advice anybody could ever give. It's the same now, though. It's not any different now than what it was then. You bought into brakes for the enjoyment or the hopes of getting something huge.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like $900 for a freaking hobby box is stupid. Like, just stupid. Flawless, like, I get it. Like the higher priced, top high end products, like, I get the price point to a degree. But even then, that's pushing it. Because, when Flawless first came out, it was what, $1,200 a briefcase?
Mm-hmm.
I think. Some of it's now what? $3,000, $4,000? Help me out here, Carlos. I know you've had to see some for Flawless.
Ooh, it's a lot. I haven't kept too much tabs, but it's definitely multiples. The point is, it's multiples. Almost all of them have gone up multiples. It's the same thing that happened with the cup. Like, the cup is a simple one. It was like $300 or $400 when it started. This past issue was $1,200. I literally did a not my case, but I hosted a case break on the channel. So you think about $1,200, so translated to US, like $800-900 US per tin, 6 tins in a case. And there, by the way, all 36 cards. There were 36 cards in that case, 36 total cards to get your money back from. $200 per card average. And they're all on eBay. And by Thursday, we're going to find out exactly how much money they lost on a $7,200 retail case.
A lot.
Oh, it's going to be off the chart. Like, if they get 20%, I'll be impressed.
That is an interesting question.
Yeah. So I'll touch on this one here a little bit. I think this has been one of the reoccurring themes of the past, couple of years now. I do think so. Two things I want to say. First, I think people are using the word loaded wrong, and it really kind of annoys me because I don't think they understand what the word loaded means. Loaded means you open the case and there's 51 of ones in it. Loaded means you open a box and open a pack and there's like 10 cards out of 10 in it. Like something ridiculous. That's loaded. Now, what you're actually talking about is directed. Like, you're saying the hits are being directed towards certain individuals. Now, number one,
top
it's
cards.
Possible. Yeah, absolutely. Number one, it's always been possible and it's always been the case. There are numbers there. You can go back in old forum posts and people figured out the codes inside of Panini boxes years ago. And you could figure out when a case hit would be available in a certain one. Now, one key thing, when Michael Rubin goes out on a live stream with a celebrity and they happen to pull an amazing card, fine. That's a loaded box by your 2024 definition of loaded box, which again, to me, is an inaccurate term, but whatever. I'll use it. So, quote unquote, loaded box. For the breakers, is it possible? Absolutely. Could they do it if they wanted to? Sure. Here's a question, though. Does it actually benefit them? The reason I ask that question is they say, okay, sure, they directed to them. Okay, so what did you get out of it? Oh, publicity. Did you really get it? Because all you're saying basically is that unless you break with Backyard Breaks or whoever, you're not going to get anything. So then why would you buy a box? You actually completely torpedo the rest of the sales for the rest of the boxes. And also, if you pull the good card early, the big chase hit, I'm less inclined to buy into breaks or buy the boxes. If you're going to load the box and do this properly, you should hold back the big hit for a while.
Yep.
Let people buy boxes of shit they're never going to pull the big card and then drop it at the appropriate moment. You don't do it early. You do it after a couple of weeks or a month or two. So let's put it this way. if they are loading boxes, then they're really stupid because that is the marketing. It's actually the opposite of what you wanted, because as soon as the biggest hit got pulled, you actually made the boxes less attractive and made less money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the value tanks.
Yes. Like, and we literally watched it happen in real time when some of these big ones got, suddenly the other boxes went down in price. That's terrible. If you're loading the boxes intentionally, you're stupid, because that's actually a terrible idea.
Yep. Prism WWE, first year it was released. Boxes started tanking the minute the finites, the big ones, started getting pulled.
Yeah. So like, I will never bet against shadiness. I will never bet against shadiness in the hobby ever. But I'm just saying that would be literally not only cutting your nose, it'd be cutting your entire face off in spite your face. It's like I literally walk in the room going like, I understand you can do it, don't. Or if you're going to direct it, yes, hold back the 1/1 and the big card. Hold it back. Wait. Keep it in the warehouse for another couple of weeks, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, and then release it. Backyard Breaks can have it in 2 months. Not now. Not now.
It completely defeats the purpose of trying to move the product, so to speak. Yeah. Your whole objective is to manufacture X, and you want to sell X. The easiest way to sell X is if the shadiness is in fact accurate, which, like you, Carlos, I'm sure there is.
I will never disagree with shadiness. It's always possible.
It's speculation, but like, I wouldn't put it past any of them.
No.
But why? If you manufacture X, you want to actually move X, as in all of it. Why? I'm right there with you. Why would you want to sit there and have the freaking product hit come out in the first week? Other times it may happen. Like the Bowman draft, for instance, the Brady 101 Superfractor Auto was pulled fairly quick. The number to 12 still hasn't surfaced yet with the freaking whatever his inscription is. That still hasn't surfaced yet, because in essence, that technically is the hit of the product.
Mm-hmm.
So they're obviously doing that one right.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, my thought process goes to, like, I'm not telling you definitively no, because I don't know. So because I'm not there and I'm not the one making the decision, I cannot say definitively no. I'm just saying, look, as the patron saint of shadiness, and shadiness is my birthright, it is literally what we do. The people of Panama, this is what we do. However, I'm going to tell you, if the shadiness is in effect, they're doing it wrong. I am offended in the manner of shadiness they're doing, because they are doing it incorrectly. I am seeing it done incorrectly, and I am ready to critique this to hell, because this is not how you do it. This is the opposite. Your goal is to sell the shit out. So what you do is you hold back. You can have some hits, but don't have the hit come out in the first couple of days. That I don't care who you're giving it to then. It defeats the purpose. Your marketing completely defeats everything you're trying to accomplish. Your goal is to sell the shit. Yep. You want the rest of those cases to be sold. That's your point. Yeah, give it away to Backyard Breaks after 5 or 6 weeks. Let it ride a little bit. Sell the product, and then give it away if you want to.
See, Matt, I actually think that number is higher. Across all sports.
Totally, yeah.
Across all sports, yeah. You're talking tens of thousands, I'm willing to bet.
Somebody did a check on the Trevor Lawrence 1/1s, and it's like a ton. It's a metric ton. Just Trevor Lawrence by himself. His rookie year. It's crazy.
But all that's doing, it goes back to solidify what you had mentioned and what I said earlier. They're catering to the breakers. Why else would you have that many parallels? Like, that's the whole objective. Because nowadays, at least back in our day, back when we were youngins, a hit was a hit. That's what was shipped during a break. That's it. inserts, parallels, that type of stuff, unless it was a higher end break, most breakers wouldn't send it. Now, every serial number card is considered a hit because the products are so like flooding every product. Like, you're gonna spend X amount of money to join a break. Give me my fucking numbered card. I don't care if it's numbered to 10,000. I want my numbered card because it's now a hit. Hence the reason why now you have like serial number breaks.
Yeah. So I'll touch
0 to 9.
So I'll touch on the one comment. Carlos acts like the one-on-ones are getting hit on day one of release. There are one-on-ones getting hit on day one of release.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll use the example. Look, so you said one of ones. So here's the thing. I'm taking you at exactly what you wrote. One of one. There's tons of one of ones in every release. Like I talk about the AEW thing. I opened 2 inner cases, 20 boxes, inner case, 2 separate inner cases, 2 separate orders. There was a one of one in each one of them. I also opened 2 separate hobby boxes and I pulled a one of one in that. In 22 boxes, I pulled 3 one of ones. That's me, one person opening just separate thing from one dealer, one situation. I don't have loaded boxes. There weren't loaded boxes. They were just boxes. There's plenty of one of ones.
Yeah, Carlos is going back to what you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Is the fact of like the product hits or the big chasers per product.
Yeah.
Coming out sooner than what they should.
Yeah.
Now,
so one of one. There you go.
Said, some of it could be coincidence. Some of it could be the hanky-panky going on and certain breakers getting, the product hit cases.
Yeah.
But even then, like, what's interesting to me though too, and this is just maybe another way I think about things. Most breakers buy through distribution. They don't buy direct through manufacturer.
Yeah.
So breakers pay distribution. Distribution pays manufacturers. Why? Like,
yeah, if you're the distributor, and you already hold stuff back in the first place, why wouldn't you take the good shit for yourself? You would actually make more money that way. So the like I said, I'm poking a little bit of fun because like I said, he literally wrote one of ones, and I go, one of ones, dude. Like, bro, let's put it this way. I spent more than 30 years collecting. Just to be clear, when I started opening these boxes as part of the thing, I had never pulled a one of one in a pack in my life. I pulled 3 in a 22 box run.
It's a good feeling.
Loaded. Loaded. I actually talk to people at Upper Deck and go, give me loaded shit. Let's go. Like, I'm trying to get the loaded shit. That's 3 one of ones without the loaded shit.
I am surprised though because that seems like a very high average to me for like 1 of 1 per inner case.
There's just so many in that product. The problem is that Allure has so many. You could pull printing plates, you could pull autograph one of one. So what they did is the parallel that's one of one is called Golden Treasures. So they've got the regular Golden Treasures, which is the one that I just showed. They've also got an autograph version of it for everybody. So everybody's got an autograph version, a regular version. It's still not like ridiculously easy, but also they didn't print 50 million cases of it. Like it's a niche market. So if I'm opening 20,
what's the checklist? How many?
It's 100. It's 150 total in the checklist.
Okay, so base checklist. That's not including the inserts and everything else.
Not including inserts, some of which have one of one parallels as well. So like there is a reasonable amount of opportunities, and simply by opening 20 hobby boxes of it, it gave you a greater, like inside an inner case, you've got a decent chance of getting one on one. Realistically, you really do. So I was able to get an autograph version in one inner case, and then this other one in the other inner case. And then I got lucky in a couple of hobby boxes of flagship, and I actually pulled a one of one autograph. But those are the first 3 parallel one of ones. Now, mind you, up until this recent thing, I've opened a box here or there over the course of years. I've been a volume breaker of boxes, so I've had the opportunity to open more than I usually do. So that was an opportunity to do that. But like the stuff's there. The problem, and where the questions come in, is it's not pulling one of ones. One of ones. People pull one of ones literally every hour on the hour. As long as this hobbies are operating, people are pulling them all the time now. But where it's getting tricky is it's not pulling a one of one. It is pulling, say, a premium one of one. Yeah. So like if you take the checklist and say, and you could choose which hit you want to pull, a lot of those number one, top draft pick choices in the ones you want are getting pulled too soon. If you're doing it intentionally, you want to save a little bit. You want to hold back and say like, yeah, one of ones, yes, but not like the best, not the best person to pull in like the first couple of days. That's not what you want. That's not good.
So I'm like, okay, now I'm getting confused. I almost want to like send him a link so we can have this discussion because chat sometimes doesn't always go easy.
Right.
I'm trying to understand like the thought process in the question.
I have to break boxes of a product that actually has it in it.
Well,
I have zero kicks at the can because I don't open a product that has them in there.
And not all products have them, but
yeah,
what does it have to do with the question is what I'm getting at. Like,
yeah,
there's a reason why the question was asked.
Yeah.
And then basically stating that because like I've never pulled a logo shield or a logo man. And I've opened probably more boxes and cases than Carlos has. And that's when
I'd say comfortably. Up until recently, I barely opened anything.
And I'm not talking personal though either. Like from the shop perspective. Now, granted, most of the product that he opened, it wasn't high end top tier shit either. But that was also in the mid to late 2000s, and NFL logo shields and logo man and basketball were kind of starting to become a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were tough as shit to pull. And the vast majority of them probably have been pulled and sold 15 million times since then. But I'm trying to understand what Carlos not pulling one has to do with the question.
Yeah. No, that's and I agree with that definition. But the problem, the kind of the only counter is, I'll repeat kind of the thesis, just encapsulate it real quick. Can the manufacturers do that? Yes. The point that we're making is that it would be stupid of them to do it. Doesn't mean they can't, doesn't mean they haven't, but it actually doesn't help them. And also, not all logo mans are created equal. You give me a logo man of a generic player or a second tier player, okay, great, whatever. What good does that do you? That's not what's going to get the buzz. You pull a logo man of a second tier guy, like, okay, that's cool, but who cares? You pull a logo man of one of the top. If CJ Stroud has one of his logo mans out right now, given the new hotness, he would be a tremendous pull. Now you direct that and you put it over in backyard break's pocket. Well, there you go. But then that would be the big draw of that product. So even if you want to do it, if you're doing it intentionally, even if you want to, I would literally hold back and do it later. I wouldn't do it in the first week of release because it is actually not to your benefit. So the argument he was trying to make is that you don't need to sell it yet, but your goal as a manufacturer still is, as a manufacturer, you still sell out. Panini still sells out flawless. They sell it to distributors. They sell it to other people. So the manufacturer doesn't give a shit. That's the point, is that the idea that it's advertising for who? The manufacturer sold it out already. They already sold it to distributors who had to buy it. And then they're the ones that store it in the card shops, the LCS. And then you are on they're the fourth person on the chain.
So unlike Wizards of the Coast, they release additional allocations.
Yes.
They do additional printings of said product.
Yeah.
And they issue it in waves. Unlike sports cards, once it's manufactured and the distributors purchase whatever, and card shops who have direct relationships with the manufacturer get their allocation, like they're done. They don't sit on product. which is what Carlos is saying. At the end of the day, like they don't sit on shit. There's not a reprinting or a secondary shipment out to distribution. It's gone.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. So let me respond to it this way. Come on, bro. Look, I'm trying to figure out what it is you're asking at this point. If your question is can they direct it? Yes. The only argument we've made is that it's silly for them to do it. Doesn't mean they haven't. But I would advise against it because it's not even for the integrity thing. I don't give a shit about integrity. Forget integrity for a moment. It's a stupid if it's marketing, it's a stupid marketing move. It's actually counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish. Doesn't mean they're not doing it. To be clear, doesn't mean they're not doing it. But as an individual, do I give a shit? No. You know why I don't give a shit? Because as an individual, even if I want the item, if for some reason I'm in the tax bracket where I can pay for that item, I'm buying the single anyway. I'm not going into a break.
Yep.
And if we know that the fix is in and certain breakers are getting it, well, then you should be buying your brakes with them.
Yep.
Why would you be a peasant and be an idiot and buy a brake with somebody that isn't on the preferred list?
Yeah, it makes no sense. At the end of the day, first and foremost, we are not saying that it's happening. Can it happen? Yes. Is it possible it's happening? Absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, from a logic perspective, I don't care. Like
I'm
realistically,
right
if they're doing it, great. But it's a stupid idea. It's actually counterproductive to what you as the manufacturer want to accomplish.
100%.
But if you're doing it, hey man, have at it. But the idea is like, well, does it harm us? Like how? I'm not in the bracket. I'm not buying flawless cases. So, okay. And if I'm a buyer of the single, I don't give a shit who pulls it. And I don't give a shit how they pull it. As long as they make it available for me as a buyer, if I want the single and I can afford it, then yeah, you pull it. I don't care how you did it. I just want to, I want a shot at offering up on the card because as a collector, then I want to buy it.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So there's two elements of it. So he's saying here publicity for the next big product. What publicity? The loaded box thing has been going on for like a year, 2 years now. It's not helping. The next product either sells or it doesn't. It's not helping.
But that's not all. That has nothing to do with the breaker.
Yeah.
Like at the end of like here's the other thing. And I know you've been collecting a long time, SGC. Like I know you have. They re-release the same shit over and 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 over again. So, like to a degree, what publicity are they going after? Like the bulk of the release schedule for the bulk of these products is the same. This product releases around this time. Okay. Like Prism. The whole reason why Prism comes out around this time for both football and basketball, roughly, postseason for NFL, getting close to the end of the season for basketball. So like there's rhymes and reasons for when they release product. But like when you rehash the same shit over and over again, and the release schedule is pretty much the same for the same products because nothing new really is coming out, I'm right there kind of with Carlos. Where's the publicity for what? Because X pulls let's say the product pull from X product. What's the publicity? If it's Panini's still going to sell their shit.
Yeah.
Pulling the big product is
talking this. You put it on ESPN, that's publicity, true, but it's not publicity that's necessarily convertible. All right, I see a nice card. Cool. ESPN is not telling me how to buy it. ESPN is not telling me who to buy it from. They're just showing me the card. Oh, that's cool. More as a new product bringing new customers, in theory. So when we're looking at the current price points and we're showing down, this sector's down, that other sector's down, and it's been going down since the basically late 2021, early 2022. And that's with publicity, loaded boxes going on now for a couple of years and accusations of them going on for a couple of years. Is it helping? Has it brought in more consumers or are there less consumers?
Good question. How would we know?
No, I'm just looking at the sales because unless it's the hot thing, the sales have been actually going down on almost everything across the board. Almost every sector has gone down with the publicity, the more consumers. So that tells me, but when I go to a card show, I see foot traffic. I'm seeing the price point go down. So the big hits are not actually drawing. They might be drawing eyeballs. It's drawing eyeballs in the sense that a T206 Honus Wagner selling for a record price draws eyeballs. That doesn't mean people are buying T206 Honus Wagners. Most of the people watching, oh, that's crazy. Baseball cards sold for that much? That's crazy. Yeah. I'm not in the marketplace to buy one, but cool. Good to know.
You have a valid point, but on the flip side, if you record said Zion logo man that you pull in your house, you're still going to get the eyes because people are going to pick it up. So to a degree, to a degree, it shouldn't matter who pulls it, because eventually somebody's going to find it, somebody's going to post it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I didn't know the Tom Brady Superfractor 101 auto got pulled until freaking Golden posted it on their feed on Instagram. So small in breaker, personal break, whatever, eventually it's going to get there. And you're right, they don't. I'm not disagreeing with that. But at the same time, like, I can almost contradict my entire argument to a degree.
Yeah, I'm looking at backyard breaks right now and whatnot. They have 45 viewers.
Well, that's because they're not breaking anything other than their repack stuff.
But the fact that they're breaking repacks, again, the guys that are getting the hits directed to them, right? Why wouldn't they be opening the product and pulling the thing, but instead they're doing repacks? Yeah, but I'm saying and they've got 130, almost 140,000 followers on whatnot. Almost 140,000 followers, and they can't draw more than 45 viewers to their thing because right now they're selling repacks because they don't have other product. They've moved out of selling out of the other products in volume like they once were. They're just not getting the eyeballs.
Yep.
And that's after all the hits they pulled, all the social media buzz and everything. It's like they're the poster children for getting the loaded boxes, right? And I'm looking at it and going like, it's clearly not working. Maybe we should send them some more one-of-ones. Maybe that'll help. Send them some more, Dave. Ship them over.
Well, and I guess to a degree, you could also look at it from a different perspective. You know, it's in this situation, maybe any publicity is good publicity, whether it's positive or negative. And in this space, it seems to go that route. It doesn't matter if it's great news, positive news, or negative news. It's, you know, it's publicity. Yeah. But I'm speaking for myself, although those who have collected for a long period of time, none of the shit that's going on, this isn't like this is just now happening. It's been happening for years, in years, in years. All the shit that you hear, cases, not shipping cards from breaks, swapping cards and breaks, you know, anything and everything that you could possibly fathom has transpired since the beginning of time. It's just it's more readily available because of the internet, right? But like for me personally, I almost hate being a collector now because of all the negative publicity. Call me crazy. It doesn't impact me.
You're crazy, Steve.
It doesn't impact me.
You're crazy.
But trying to have a conversation with a casual sports lover and talk about how I enjoy collecting sports cards, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I read this," and it's like, okay, maybe I won't, you know, bring that up again, type situation.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's odd. I find myself unmoved and unchanged. It's kind of the same for me. Same as last year, same as the year before, same as 5 years ago, 10, whatever.
Well, yeah,
y'all do you. It's great.
You just don't care.
Yeah, but people would be shocked how good it's pretty cool being Zen, Steve. I got to tell you, it's pretty sweet. Like he's like, yeah, all right, cool, loaded boxes, great. But I don't care, guys. Who cares? Whatever. Are you going to sell me the single? Can I have the thing? Can I buy it from you? Yeah. How much you want for it? Cool. Okay, great. But he got it from. I don't give a shit. I don't care why he got it, how he got it, or who he got it from. As long as it's legit and it's the one I want, I'll take it. We come to a good price. We're done.
I mean,
I'll do you.
I love all the eyes though that the hobby has gotten to a degree because for some of us who have sold stuff, we've been able to sell stuff for more money. So I mean, it's a win-win. But you know, it's for those who have done it for an extended period of time. Also, have noticed and realized that stuff it's not flat, but we're still on the slight decline.
Yeah. Well,
But,
we just need some more loader boxes, Steve. That'll turn everything around. I think an Amish Dave Archer logo man break at Lake Superior. I think that's the thing.
Charlie,
that'll turn this thing around. It'll turn it around. I think I like it. I like it. Dave, I'm into this. I think we got to make some calls.
As long as it's in the summer and not right now.
I don't think at this point I kind of want to hibernate for winter. I want to say this.
You want to see me breaking on Lake Superior now? You probably want to see me dead because that would possibly at times people might want to think that, but right now, I think it's frigid where you are. Go down to the beach, some of those cliffs, and see some of those waves rolling in when it's 10 below outside. It's like, oh, this is not fun.
Yeah.
But trying to bust some national treasures that you paid too much for. It's like, yes. And get a logo man of like some guard from that TCU or something. Be like, yes, that is the logo man I wanted to pull.
Well, David, why do you think they always act so excitable? They're practicing for the day they may have to do it in frigid conditions. They're like, Mojo! And they literally just run around. They're literally doing it for heat, Dave. They're doing it for heat. They're doing it to keep them freezing to death.
Oh, man.
Keep moving, bro.
Yeah, you'd have to have like a treadmill there or something and just be...
Hey, treadmill breaks. I kind of like that.
And that would be good because then I believe some of these breakers could be not killed, but they would die naturally.
Natural selection would take over?
Yeah, I mean,
allegedly.
Who does a little working out? Who doesn't do a little working out? I mean,
allegedly, right?
Dave,
and then
I'm a big fan of Schadenfreude, so I'm liking the cut of your jib right now. I'm just saying, I like it. I like where we're going with this. We're workshopping something good here right now. Workshopping something pretty good.
Go. Okay, first box, nothing really came out. Maybe an orange refractor, some schlub. Okay, then you bump up the speed on the old treadmill. Okay, next box, you get a rookie auto that's basically a third-year rookie. Okay, now we're moving it up even faster. It's like you will get rewarded with a slower treadmill once the actual big hits start coming out. So a CJ Stroud silver prism is not a big hit. That doesn't qualify, no matter what the last prices were of a sold auction. So that would be fun too, especially if you see some of these really portly men.
I'm seeing a hobby Hunger Games developing right now, Steve, and I like where this is going. I like it a lot.
I hear the wheels. All the way down south, I'm hearing the wheels.
Mm-hmm. I'm liking it. And as I'm fond of saying when we talk about a lot of things, like we're in Canada, and during this time of year we have nothing. Most of us have common sense and don't go outside, so it means we've got nothing but to sit at home and plot. And right now, that's getting the wheels going. We got a lot of time to think about a plot.
We'll anxiously await the next BIC random video that gets uploaded.
Eric will Eric be surprised when I let him know who we volunteered for this experiment.
Yeah, but what are we gonna do? How if he pays for all the likes, if something happens to Eric, what are we gonna do?
Oh, we have a
Gonna-
will in place. We've
Okay.
got contingencies. We've got contingencies.
Okay.
There's a trust fund. There's a trust fund in place. We're in good shape, Steve. We're in good shape.
All right, good.
We're all right. We're all right.
As long as we have it covered somehow,
Yeah.
shape, form, or fashion.
We're good. We're good. We're good.
Works for me. So that was an
We got
interesting
we got so far off. Did you guys want to talk any more about the football? We went to Hobby Hunger Games and we got distracted.
Yeah, well, shit happens, right?
Yep.
I was sitting there trying to think because, like I had mentioned earlier, I don't usually start watching unless Denver's in the postseason, of course.
Sure.
I usually don't start watching until the divisional round anyway. So, of course, this coming up weekend. I do pay attention.
Mhm.
I know it's hard to believe. I am a fan of the game, but like I had no skin in the game whatsoever. Like there's nobody that's playing in the postseason right now that I give two shits about. Period. I don't care. I wasn't surprised that Green Bay beat Dallas, in all honesty. Aaron Jones, like he is the Cowboy killer.
Yep.
And has been for a lot of years. And I'm like, if he has a good game and scores a touchdown, it's like he's going to score more. So you might as well just stick a fork in Dallas.
That was a scenario that I gave. So I made the pick. I picked Dallas based on the idea that their offense should be sufficient to do what they needed to do. But my exact words were, if you get a heavy dose of Aaron Jones, then I like our chances. Because then that means you're controlling the clock, you're controlling the ball. And the first drive, they went and they ate up a bunch of clock. I think in the first quarter, they were 10 minutes time of possession. So they were comfortably controlling the ball in the first quarter. And that's when they started off getting off to a lead. They got to a lead early. Towards the tail end, actually, by the end, Dallas got the time of possession. But that was when they started getting garbage time drives and Dak was just eating up clock himself. But it's like, yeah, okay. By the time he was done, he got 400 yards passing, 60 passes. He dropped back 60 times. And it's like, bro, feel free. Have at it. It was 48-16 with 6 minutes left in the game.
Yep. And like everybody talked about Dallas's defense. And, it's great and wonderful when you look at shit on paper. Everybody usually looks on paper. And, all of us say, watch the games. And you can find situations and circumstances where it's like, okay, yeah, well, on paper shows X, but in reality, it's not really an accurate depiction of how the defense really is. So, like Dallas's defense, outside of Micah Parsons, seriously, like there was in what's the other dude? DeMarcus Lawrence. Outside of those two guys, there's nobody. Like Stephon Gilmore needs to retire. Bland was all the hype and all that stuff early on because of the pick sixes.
Yeah.
But like he's not that good of a corner. He got beat multiple times. Like it was the same thing with freaking Diggs. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, 13 picks, 11. What? Yeah, and how many times did he get beat? Like, quit looking at stats. That is not a true depiction of how a team is based on stats or individual stats. So I'm like, I watched enough Dallas Green Bay games. Aaron Jones, like I said earlier, is the Cowboy killer. I'm like, if Aaron Jones has a good game and if he scores at least a touchdown, like I felt like Green Bay was going to beat him. Surprised Dallas lost at home. But on the flip side, it's like the regular season is the regular season, postseason is postseason. Like you can't compare. You can't compare the two.
No.
Outside of LA and Detroit, That was the closest game out of all of them. If you look at all of them, look at all the scores. I mean, I don't consider Kansas. What was Kansas City 26-7 or whatever it was?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't consider that a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a good ass kicking.
Yeah. I think what's funny about it though is you're right, but at the same time, it was because it only looked that good on paper because at the end they basically did the bend but don't break, give them a whole bunch of things, and like it allowed them to look competitive. It allowed the stat line for Dak to look better than it actually had any business being. That it was like, and it created that scenario. It's like, oh, he threw for 400 yards. Yeah. Most of those yards were in the fourth quarter when they were already down by like almost 30. And they're sitting there looking at the wrong side of that. And they're like, yeah, just keep throwing. Just keep throwing.
Yeah.
You might as well.
Yeah. Everything else, like, I didn't think Miami had a chance just for the simple fact that going into, sub-zero temperatures.
No.
Miami's used to playing, in the nice 70-degree weather.
I'd like to be playing in 70-degree weather, Steve.
So would I.
Just saying.
But, it's all of the teams that I expected to win kind of won outside of Green Bay, Dallas. Like, living in North Texas, being surrounded by Cowboys fans, I love seeing it. I was surprised.
Yeah,
I was rooting for Green Bay just because I hate Dallas.
I also think the way they won and the margin that was until late, I think that was a surprise. I don't think the expectation was. Yeah, I don't think the expectation was that they were going to almost put up 50 on them. I don't think anybody had that in their prediction.
I will say, like, CJ Stroud though surprised me most of all with his composure being in his first postseason game. Like, that was, I'm like, okay, and Dave was really high on CJ going into the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid's good.
Yeah.
And has a bright future ahead of him. So the whole Flacco hype and, the hype train and being, undefeated on the road and the freaking blah, blah. It's like, come on, folks. Like, you're digging deep into the stats. I get it. But
come on, Steve. We all wanted Wacko for Flacco to be a thing. I needed one more week of it. I was enjoying it. I was having a good time with it. The CJ Stroud story is good, but it's like, come on, Steve. Like 1 or 2 playoff wins, and they would build a statue of Flacco. They would build a man a statue.
See, I think Baker is the bigger story, though, than Flacco. Personally.
Well, Flacco was literally on the couch. He was basically out of the league. And he had some success, but he was out of the league.
But he's almost 40 years old. So, I mean, Baker was given up on multiple occasions.
I get it.
Flacco was just old.
I don't disagree, but the thing is that, like, Flacco still had a live arm. He could still throw in other race circumstances. The personnel they had in Cleveland actually suited him pretty well for what he could do. It was a situation that it was 100%. The right combination of things. Yeah, it was interesting. Why not? It was fun.
I'm not saying the Cowboys are garbage.
They kind of are.
I didn't say they were garbage. They played like garbage.
Yeah.
But, like, the funny and I always tell this story. I've been a Bronco fan since '84. And no, it had nothing to do with Elway. I was raised by my mom and my grandparents. My grandmother was a huge Broncos fan. Also loved the Cowboys. I stuck to the Broncos. But, I've gone to a few games in my Broncos gear. And as you walk through the parking lot, welcome to the home of the 5 Super Bowls. And it's like, and you haven't won one in 30 years, almost 30 years. Shut up. Like, it's pathetic. Not all fans are like that. Not all Cowboy fans are like that. But it drives me nuts because they do well in the preseason. Oh, it's our year. It's our year. They start out really good. Oh, it's our year. One bad game, one loss. Oh, they fucking suck. They're horrible. They're terrible. Get rid of the whole team. Oh, and then they start winning again. Oh, no. We're really? Like, I get the joys of fandom because I'm a fan. But just because my team wins a few games doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and be like, it's our year. The Broncos have sucked for a while, and I've accepted it.
I actually had I explained to Eric, and I think it profoundly changed his life once I gave him this comp. I told him, I was like, you know what the thing with Dallas Cowboy fans are? They're basically Toronto Maple Leaf fans. They're a really good comp. Like, it's actually a shockingly good comp if you really listen, especially if you've grown up listening to sports radio. Exactly what you just described. They lose a couple of games, all the worst, get rid of everybody, blah, blah, blah. They win a couple of games, we're going to win this year. And then it's like, Charlie Brown with the football. It's just, whoop. Yep, you're going every single time, just whoop, every time. And they get, the reason the comp works is also they get a disproportionate amount of coverage relative to teams that have been much more successful. But because I actually went over the Pro Football Reference. If you go check it out, Steve, if you ever want to have a laugh, go look at the Pro Football Reference. Go pull up the Dallas Cowboy page and just look at the records and what they actually did over the course. If you actually look at their history over 60 years, they had in the 70s, the Staubach years, they were very good. They won the Super Bowls. They went to, I think, 4 Super Bowls in the decade. Like, they were excellent. Obviously very good. They had a couple of decent teams at the beginning of the 80s. But if I take that and then I look at the 90s, the Aikman won the 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. If I remove that run in the 70s, 60 years, they've been trashed 75% of the time. 75% of the time. Now, they might have had good regular season records, but then go look at what they actually accomplished. They haven't gotten out of the divisional round since 96. They haven't gotten out of the divisional round since 96. That's almost 30 years. That's almost half their history. They haven't gotten out of the division. Does that sound like a dominant franchise or a good franchise to you? Now, here's a fun one for you. You can throw this one, Steve, at the folks at your local if you ever want to have some fun. If you ever look at that page, what you're going to see is you're going to see their playoff record. Joe Flacco has almost a quarter as many playoff wins as the Dallas Cowboy franchise. Joe Flacco.
I could go out and call it and tell people to go look at it, and they wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, but those are all real numbers. I'm not making any of that shit up. Joe Flacco has 10 playoff wins, and the Cowboys, I think, have 35. The gap is not as wide as it should be, considering we're just talking about one man compared to a team that has had 60 seasons to build up their playoff record. So they've got the Super Bowls in the trophy case. I'm not taking it away from them, but I'm just pointing out that over the course of 60 years, if you actually add it all up, it's not very impressive. It's not a very impressive record over the course of. Now they'll build up regular season wins like crazy. They've had 3 straight 12-win seasons and haven't accomplished shit with it. That's how you pad the regular season record, but it doesn't amount for anything.
Yep. People don't care here.
That's why I say the Toronto Maple Leaf comp works, Steve. That's basically what
that's fair.
It's like, you guys do realize you haven't won anything since 1967. Literally have won nothing since 1967. And they went like almost 30 years without getting on the first round. Almost exactly the same concept. So the comp works, man. The comp works shockingly well.
It does. So
I said they were in 4 Super Bowls. I didn't say they won 4. I said they got to 4. I think they were 2-2, I believe.
Any surprises for you this past weekend?
Just, I guess, the domination of Houston. I thought Cleveland would put up a better fight. I mean, that was a bloodbath when Mr. Tobacco Flacco throws a back-to-back, basically pick sixes.
That would kill them, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, you're within shooting distance, and then that, and then okay, try again. Nope, that didn't work again. So then you're like, okay, that's it for them. Rams Detroit was basically how I thought it would be, close. I thought the Packers were going to win because, again, swinging of the pendulum. Packers playing well last month or so. It's not Green Bay of the first month when, again, you're trying to get your footing, catch your bearings, match up with some of these rookies, and everybody's basically a rookie out there for the skill position, besides Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Everyone else is basically you're trying to find, and nobody was healthy during camp. I mean, somebody get hurt. Then they don't want to sit there and play Love a ton, but you want to play him something so you get him some more game speed. Again, I know he played last year. I think it's Philly, up in Philly for a time. But it's not like he's got a season under his belt. So again, you saw a lot of just mishmash out there the first 2/3 of the year. And then they started to piece it together, and it doesn't. And this is the fun part about watching them. That Bo Melton, he can have 6 for 120, 2 touchdowns. This game, he's got 1 for 9. You don't hear infighting. You don't hear people bitching on social media. I'm not getting the balls my way. I'm not getting my percentage. We're winning. That's what matters. That shit'll come whenever. We are winning. We're doing what we thought we could do at the beginning of the year. For whatever reasons, injuries or just performance or it timing, the playing together, practicing together, it wasn't there. Now you're seeing that. I remember when Reed was highly questioned as a second-round receiver out of Michigan State. And like, man, there's a lot of other guys out there, and this guy's like a 4th-round like draft grade. Well, once again, Mel Kiper making every weatherman that's blind and throwing darts at what would it be, the Price is Right, the number thing, but this is where the weather, whatever weather you have, throwing that dart, looking like a genius because Mel Kiper hasn't been right in 20 years. Reed has been insane for them, running jet sweeps, just being open, returning punts. You're seeing a team gel and be cohesive at the right time, which a lot of people say, well, they're not going to beat 49ers. Well, a lot of people don't think they're going to beat Dallas either. So,
yeah, almost nobody picked them to beat Dallas. So,
yeah.
Any given Sunday.
And I get that, but you look, just like I just said, you look over the last month. Let's say Green Bay. You just look at what they've done, where they're starting to get that ball rolling, and you look at what Dallas has done. Fucking Jack Dick. They haven't done shit. Same with Philly. The same thing where you hey, if there's a Super Bowl trophy for Halloween, we give it out on Halloween. Philly won the Super Bowl. It doesn't work that way. And everybody can line up the excuses or the whatever. It's like, no, they shit the bed constantly and consistently. So Tampa, I thought they'd win, but I'm like, it's going to be a grinder. I went to bed at half. It was 16-9. I'm like, I cannot get sucked into this game. So I know I will, and I don't give 2 shits about either team. I just want to see Philly lose for Crypto Grifter and his emotional status. That was the only thing I really wanted to see because he's had some success with the team. That's so them losing was not going to be a heartbreak. Tampa, I really don't care about. They've had their success. I like it prior to Tom Brady coming there, but it's seeing Detroit get another home game. I'm very happy with that.
I will never forgive Jameis Winston for being so bad that he allowed Tom Brady to walk into a situation with actual weapons and limp his way through the playoffs. He looked like bullshit that whole playoff run. He looked like trash. And I'm like, this worthless son of a bitch gets the Super Bowl on the back of a team that was already pre-built. It just needed competence. He just needed to not suck. That was Jameis Winston almost had them in the playoffs and he threw 30 interceptions. That's how bad he was, and they almost made the playoffs. That means they were good. They were competent quarterback play away from getting this. Steve could have won that Super Bowl for them.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Steve, I got you in the Super Bowl. I got you as a prohibitive favor with that Tampa team. There was talent there. Just get the ball out to Evans. Just throw the ball to Evans. You'll be fine.
Yeah, just throw it up.
Yeah, just throw it up. But the receivers were good. They did their job. That team was solid. Like the team was actually
the defense.
The team was good.
Josh Allen, that run yesterday to break it to 21-7 or 21-0. I'm like, that was some of the most piss poor tackling I've seen in one day, because I think the day before there was another Olay play where people weren't. They're trying to like reach, and they're just sort of like ushering him through.
I think I saw that tackling in Tecmo Bowl. If you play as Bo Jackson, I think I've seen that tackling before.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing his best Bo Jackson impersonation, and just like yeah, the who was it? David Moore for Tampa Bay. He had like a 45, 50-yard touchdown, and he literally went through 3 Eagles that were just like standing right there. It's like, were they all on the? They weren't computer programmed. It was like you're actually manually playing them. So you're like trying to switch the guys, and they're all, as you switch, they just like stand up and let the guy go right past. I'm like, how do you do that? This isn't Mike Evans. This isn't like your copy. This is Godwin. This is fucking David Moore.
Yeah.
Who?
So Dave, let me ask you a question. So kind of, and this is something I kind of noticed as I was watching the games this past round, this weekend. Did you feel like we got a disproportionate amount, like not just in one game, but a couple different times where you had different plays that either worked or didn't work, where you're like, the guy is so wide open. You literally, like, you just lob the ball out there. Like, it doesn't matter. Just lob the ball in the – we had one in the Green Bay game that was, like, super wide open. CJ Stroud
he could have ordered a fucking pizza.
Yes. CJ Stroud missed a touchdown that he overthrew. I forget who the receiver was. But the receiver actually ran in a straight line. Like he literally, there was literally nobody from the moment the snap happened. There was open field in a straight line. He didn't move to the left or move to the right like more than 6 inches. He ran in this. His route was straight line.
Yeah,
pass the sobriety test. That was his route. His route was pass the sobriety test, go in a straight line, and if CJ Stroud hadn't overthrown it, it was like the easiest touchdown in history. There was nobody on the field.
Nico Collins, if you would have just put a little more touch on that ball, a little air under that ball, it was right there. I'm like, oh my Lord, that. And then, like, 3 plays later, Dalton Schultz, where he rolled to the right, and I'm like, he just fucking threw that lollipop over there. I'm like, it's got to be a touchdown because you just saw him. And if you're throwing like that, that's something you throw in like training camp. Oh, we're gonna try this out. And I'm like, he's right there, and just.
I just felt like I saw a lot of those plays in multiple games. Like they were just like, we're not even pretending coverage. What is coverage? I don't know what that is.
Puka on his touchdown too, running down the near sideline, and then I think Detroit trying to stop him at the 8-yard line. He just stops. The guy goes past, and then he like sidesteps another guy and just like walks in. I'm like, was there ice in those 2 little areas that these Detroit defenders? Did Vinny cut holes in like Ford Field, and the snow and ice came through there? And he's like, shit, that worked against me. Because I mean, Puka just doot like a triangle on the old PS2 where you juke him, or the L1 button or the R1. He just sort of like shuffled off to the right and he was in. I'm like, I know he's had a good year, but I don't think he's like otherworldly good, like Mr. Number 81 that used to reside in Detroit. So yeah, there's a lot of just, from what I watched, this was probably the most football I watched in years because everything was available minus the Green Bay game.
Mhm.
And I listened to that on the way back from Trista's. I'm like, oh, I should turn that on. And that's when I heard like I don't know who had the touchdown, was like 48-16. And I'm like, oh, what?
Did they have that right?
Am I hearing this correctly? Like 48-16? Because that was on Fox. Everything else was on something streaming that I could get. So yeah, it was like, this is interesting.
Mhm.
Pittsburgh looking like Pittsburgh yesterday, basically. Najee Harris running hard. But again, they need so much help. I think what else? I think that would be it.
I think it was a situation where there were some games, but nothing. It was interesting as I watched the games, but I felt like a lot of it just wasn't super interesting because a lot of the games just didn't feel like they were very competitive anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like if you have a rooting interest, then it's great. But other than that, it was like there were moments, but nothing crazy.
No. And again, like Flacco before he threw the two picks, or the two pick sixes, it was interesting game. And then after that, it's like, who cares? It's done. That pretty much
Yeah.
put that one to bed. I just wanted to see how cold people are going to be in Kansas City because that just looked like we're all dealing with now. Miserable. It's fucking always seeing the dumb people that have no shirt on trying to like rally the crowd. I'm like, well, have fun getting pneumonia or worse because you're sitting there and chanting and cheering, and beer sales are up obviously, so that's good for them.
Yeah.
But no, Tomlin will never get fired in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's it'd have to be something like Belichick, where you'd have to have like 2-3 seasons of just shitty football out there, where you look like you're completely lost and you haven't kept up. We've talked about on here before. He hasn't kept up with the game. That's the problem. It's the same offense, and you're trying to recast these players that you had like 10, 15 years ago, where you had your star quarterback in place, again, on a fluke of a 6th-round pick.
Mhm.
And I think he had more to do with the success than Belichick. And I know that hurts me to say it, and it hurts you to hear it, Carlos, because I know we're both big number 12 fans. But I think within the confines of that locker room,
I refuse to accept any words you just said. I'm completely glossing over and ignoring all of it. My Brady slander will continue unimpeded, uninterrupted, and unimpeded.
I'm fine with that. But I think like in the locker room, it's like you could play for somebody that knows, not the plight, but I mean, you're not a high draft pick. You're not some like much valued guy coming in. You're a 6th-rounder. You're an undrafted free agent. You're a waiver claim like a Wes Welker. So they're going to play for him probably more than Belichick. And then when he left, it's like you can tell you don't have that type of symbiotic relationship between the coach and the players.
Oh, but Mac Jones was the next Tom Brady.
Well, we saw how that worked out. I think Scott Zolak was warming up a few times this year for the Patriots on the sideline. So
they should have kept Garoppolo.
Yep,
just my opinion.
And that was what Belichick wanted. Kraft wouldn't get rid of his boy. And that was kind of the issues that he wanted. He felt like it was the time to move on early. In the long run, Bill Belichick, the general manager, was never a fraction as good as Bill Belichick, the head coach.
Mhm.
It's a situation where if you let somebody else run the personnel and make those decisions and be like Bill Belichick, I still think he can coach the defenses and he can get them where they need to be. And he can still, like, he's got strategies. It's not like Bill Belichick suddenly lost his mind and can't coach. But
Yeah.
I think it's a situation where he needs someone else to make the personnel decision. And I don't know if he's willing to relinquish that level of control, but he probably should. It would give him that opportunity to get the Don Shula record. That's what he wants. You got to suck it up. But what we learned, I think, with a lot of these teams, and Steve knows this as well as anybody else, the quarterback is very important. You need to have the right person in the right spot. By the way, it doesn't have to be the greatest quarterback in history. Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. The point is, you need the right guy for the right personnel and the right team configuration, and you can make that work. Now, you'd like to do better than Trent Dilfer, but that doesn't mean that you need to have the greatest quarterback of all time or a first ballot Hall of Famer on your no, you just need somebody who can make throws when you need to make throws.
You need a game manager.
Yeah.
I mean, Denver's last Super Bowl win, Peyton Manning got benched.
Yeah.
Going into the playoffs.
And his arm was broken at that point. Like, his arm was shot.
But they needed a game manager and the experience, which is why he played the postseason. But he was done.
Mm-hmm.
He was done. He didn't need to make mistakes. And that's what he did. And then, of course, Von Miller helped. But, I'm solidifying your statement of Trent Dilfer. He was a game manager.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco was even a game manager.
Yeah. His job was not to be a disaster. Just don't suck. that was his job. It's like, don't do anything disastrous. Don't put us in a bad position. Don't do something silly. Trent Dilfer's not an idiot. He understood how to run that team the way he needed to run it. And his job was not to be the star. His job was just not to cause problems or get in the way. And that's enough.
Yeah, don't fuck it up.
Yep.
Literally.
Which tells you how bad some of these teams have it with quarterback, where they can't even get that. That's how bad in some situations. It's a dire situation. It's like, wow, you can't even get, like, don't fuck it up. Like, that's all I'm asking of you. I'm not asking a lot.
So I'm going to ask this. So who does everybody have this weekend? Carlos?
So pulling up the matchups here, just so I got them right in front of me. All right. So if I'm gonna put the money down, I'm gonna go with the 49ers because, again, same issue as before. However, I'll put the same caveat. If for some reason they get bonked on the head and they decide to do the same thing and they can run an Aaron Jones led concept where they're able to run the ball a fair bit, basically all I want them to do is the same thing I wanted them to do with Dallas in the first place, and they managed to do it. I don't care what the other team does. I want to control the ball enough. If you can move the sticks, I don't need Jordan Love to try to throw it all over the yard. That's not necessary. What I'd like him to do, I'd like him to make some throws where he's clearly shown he can't make some throws. I like that. Mm-hmm. But what I want a heavy dose of Aaron Jones. I want a heavy dose, run that clock. I want Brock Purdy and the offense. I want Christian McCaffrey sitting there going like, when are we going to get to play already? That's what I want. I want long, sustained drives and slow the game down.
Yeah, because that's going to work in Green Bay's favor. 100%.
Yeah, that's the strategy. If it plays out the way you would expect, 49ers have a ton of talent. They're the favorite there for a reason. I would expect it, but like there is a path to victory, but it's going to have to be executed flawlessly. Yep. If they do that, I give them a puncher's chance. Why not?
Okay, who else you got?
I think it's done for Houston. I like the kid. It's the two young guys. I like them. I'm enjoying them. Maybe we get parallel stat lines again. Who knows? That'd be kind of fun. I got to be honest. That'd be kind of fun if they did that kind of thing again. But the only concern I have with Baltimore really is the rest period. The fact that they took the extra week off. They rested a bunch of the starters as well. So that's kind of an issue that I have with what they're doing there. Lamar's was playing great though. Like he was playing really great up until that point. So I feel like if Lamar is going to get over the hump, I feel like this is the year where the team seems well structured. They seem to be good. If they come out prepared, the Texans have had a great season. It should be. I expect to see the Ravens, and I will pick actually the Bills over the Chiefs because the Chiefs have not impressed me this year.
Mhm.
If the Bills are ever going to beat the Chiefs in this moment, this is the opportunity. I think this Chiefs team is vulnerable. I think Josh Allen could get over the hump. I want to see Ravens. I want to see Ravens and Bills in the AFC Championship, which would be really interesting. I think it'd be enjoyable. And, I expect to see the 49ers and the Lions in the NFC Championship. That is my expectation. I would love to if I get the Packers and Lions, Dave, the fix is in. I'm gonna enjoy watching the ruins of Detroit burn to the ground because then I'm taking Jordan to the house. We're going. If we get there, then we're burying Detroit just on principle. It's 2010 Redux because they played the Bears in the NFC Championship. We will destroy the division team in the end. You don't want them there, Detroit. You do not want them there. You don't want that bad juju on you. I will watch the ruins burn down. I have no problem with Detroit. But the ruins will burn to the ground if that situation plays out. I expect you'll see San Francisco. That would be my expectation. San Francisco and Detroit is what I expect in the NFC. That's my if I'm putting my money pick.
Yeah, I think in the divisional round there are potentials for upsets. There always are because it's the postseason. But I think your higher ranked teams, your higher ranked as in like top seeds, I think that's who moves on. So of course Baltimore over Houston. I think that has the potential of being a really high scoring game though too.
It could be. Yeah.
Definitely I agree with you 100%. I think this is the year that Josh Allen has the opportunity to get over the postseason hump with Kansas City. This being the first time Kansas City has had to play a playoff game.
Yeah.
I think Buffalo has a chance. Buffalo's playing like phenomenal football right now. They had to win out in order to make it to the postseason. They have something to play for.
I think they need this psychologically because if not, then it's going to be
Agreed.
like this team owns us. That's why I say like this year, the Chiefs have shown themselves to be vulnerable. The tape is out there on how to beat them. Teams have beaten them. So it's out there.
Well, and I'm tired of the Chiefs personally, just because they play in my division. But, I don't think Mahomes is as great as what everybody thinks he is. Like, I don't. That's my own personal opinion. And no, I don't have reasons. I've just watched enough of him play where it's like, that was a fluke play. Oh, that was fucking luck. Shit along those lines that it's like, oh, well, he manufactures and this and that. Shut the fuck up. I want to see Detroit move on. Just for the simple fact that Detroit hasn't done shit in a long time.
It's a good story. It's a good story. I think people get behind it. It's a good narrative. Yeah.
And that's what I'm going for. San Francisco. They are the team to beat in the NFC. But like you said, Aaron Jones being the Cowboy killer, if they get a high dose of Aaron Jones and they find gaps in the defensive line and he can get into the secondary, San Francisco is going to have a tough go. The biggest concern for Green Bay would be the fact that their secondary is a little beat up, but who knows? Anything's possible. So San Francisco, Detroit, Baltimore, and Buffalo in the championship games is where I'm going.
What say you, Dave?
And I can't agree just because of principle alone. And then you've always got somebody that's in the away team that comes out of this round and spoil something.
That is true. We did pick all home teams, so that is true.
And I don't want it to be Kansas City. I really don't. I need this Taylor Swift shit to end. I'm so tired of seeing her.
Now I need them to lose, and she starts dating Josh Allen just to drive Dave crazy.
Yeah.
Extended another round.
And she's got like the Travis Kelce jacket on, and then she takes it off for the Josh Allen one, and people just go wild.
That's right.
I'm gonna say, and again, I'm going Houston because Baltimore has not. As much as I want to see them succeed, they have the track record recently of failing miserably when expectations are incredibly high. And when you have Odell Beckham Jr. on your team, that's a recipe for a disaster. Yes, he's a great talent, but he is a guy that is such a head case, and
he helped the Rams win. He helped the Rams win.
Yeah, but in that sense, he knew. It's like, you've got Stafford, you've got Kupp, you've got Aaron Donald, you've got Ramsey. You've basically thrown away the next 4 years of draft picks to get everybody there. It's like, this is literally the all-in, push your chips to the middle of the table. Phil Hellmuth, I'm going for it all. Baltimore, not so much. I mean, they've done some things, but it's not completely just like, and that's not something they've ever done, though, either. Just like torn apart. Ozzie Newsome, when he was there, he'd never do that. I don't even know who's the GM now, but again, if you learn under Ozzie Newsome, that's one thing you better learn. Those draft picks are valuable. So I say Houston. I just say Stroud is, like you said, I loved him in the draft. I wish Carolina would have been smart and taken him one, but I'm glad Houston got him. Better situation, obviously, there. Will Anderson, I think he'll be a disruptor. I just think there's too many weapons that Houston's got that are underrated weapons. If John Mechie can do just a little more, you got Schultz, you got Nico Collins. The way Devin Singletary's been running the ball the last 6 to 8 weeks, I think they're set up. Again, it will matter what the weather is. If it's another just a shitty game type situation, it could be like a 6-3 game. If it's something decent, I say like a 24-20 game, somewhere in there. I want Buffalo to win. I really do. I'll take them, but it's one where I don't want to bet against Kansas City, even as shitty as they've been this year. Not the Kansas City of like last 3-4 years, because they're in the position again to go to a conference championship. So it's not, you don't want to bet against the team that's had proven success. And they're not really injured. It's just you have a lack of receivers that are competent.
Oh, Mahomes isn't 100%. So if they lose, it's because he's not 100%. Like, that's what you're going to hear.
Oh, I know. There'll be some ankle shit again, or like the helmet cracked, the fragments is something.
Always something.
If I were betting money, I'd probably put on Tampa. Just because everybody wants the feel-good story of Detroit, including me. That's usually one of the teams I pick in that our NFL preview. I'm like, watch for Detroit. Watch for Detroit. That's if things can line up for them. They play hard for Campbell, their coach. It's he just seems to like, let's run through a wall, and they'll all try to run through a wall. There aren't many coaches out there that are like that. I know Vrabel was another one. Some of those just like grinders. in the NFL. And I think if they can get up on Tampa by like 10, 13 points, Aiden Hutchinson will have like 25 sacks. I mean, it's going to be they're just going to bury Baker in Detroit, where most things are buried. Nothing ever comes to life there.
Have you ever been to Ford Field, Dave? By the way,
I have not.
I've had the
Thank
pleasure. Just I've had the pleasure, and walk by the ruins. It was hilarious. I enjoyed it on many levels.
A couple ruins there
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yep.
vicinity.
You could burn the whole city down. You wouldn't know the difference.
I know
It's the same. It's about the same. A couple extra char marks. That's about it. It's the same.
Green Bay, San Fran. Again, to echo your statements, it's all the same. It's if you can control the clock, run the ball, not turn the ball over, or not have any stupid mistime miscues. I think they can keep it close enough, and that secondary is banged up for San Fran. It is literally bare bones. They had Jason Verrett out there. That's a former Chargers first round pick for me. And he's been through every season ending injury the last 9 or 10 years. And he got hurt. So I mean you don't have much out there. Brock Purdy the last month or so hasn't been playing like Brock Purdy the first 2 months. When people are starting to say the MVP and great season, now he sort of showing a couple chinks in the armor. I'm going San Fran, but it's going to be a lot closer than people will probably realize. The pundits that are going to be out there on your TV screens and whatnot. Probably
You're saying you like the
too.
line. You like the line. The line I've got here is 9.5. So you're saying you like the line.
I would take the under. I wouldn't go, or I'd take, yeah. I would not go over.
You take the points. You take the points.
Take the points.
Yeah.
Because I get where it's coming from because San Fran's look good. Playoffs. That doesn't mean shit. So
I think it's funny that at this stage the entire strategy. What's funny, Steve, is that everybody knows that's the strategy. Like there's no secrets. There's no like shock factor. Like everybody in the building, both buildings, knows exactly what it is they're going to be trying to do. And it's like the only question is, can you do it? Can you execute it? And can you avoid mistakes? If you can do those two things, everybody knows what you're trying to do. There's no surprises. It's no shock. You're not going to catch them off guard with that one. But can you execute it is the only question that we're asking.
So yeah, Detroit, San Fran, Buffalo, Houston. Like Steve had mentioned too, any of these games go the other way. I mean, one injury, if we're picking just on matchups alone, that's what I'm going with. And Detroit, as much as I don't have like the rooting interest, I want to see them do well. So that's sort of like, I'd say that right now is like America's team, because again, it's something you want to see that's different. It's not New England. It's not the Vikings. It's not Dallas. So something different, and something where, okay, a downtrodden franchise for many years, you squandered away a top 2 or 3 running back of all time. You squandered away a top 2 or 3 receiver of all time. Can you do anything now? It'd be great. So I just hope not. It's not Tampa. I mean Baker. That's a great story, but no.
Yeah, I think so, Steve. I think and Dave. I think if we're gonna have a whack, like if it can't be like, I'm still gonna root for my team regardless. That's what you do. But if if you're gonna insist on giving me the narrative version, then it's like, all right, Detroit and Buffalo. Someone has to win. It's like, what's that? First ever Super Bowl tie. None of you win. And then the roads burn down. It's like, seriously, one of us has to, it becomes the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs all over again. One of us has to win this. It has to happen this time.
So
It'd be cool.
Cleveland,
It'd be
Detroit. I want
One-
Cleveland, Detroit because it'd be the battle of the two of the three teams for Dennis Northcutt.
Yeah, it would be the ultimate, Dave, but I think the Cleveland one unfortunately gets an asterisk on it because it's not the original Cleveland franchise.
Yep.
That kind of wrecks it because I look at the second one as that's the 99 Browns.
Yep.
Which kind of wrecks it. It would qualify. It would totally qualify. The problem is then the Browns moved and then that team had a better run at it. So It's like it kind of cheats it a little bit. I think if you're going purity based on the original, it's like this is the Buffalo Bills. This is the AFL Buffalo Bills against the Detroit Lions that haven't done anything in the Super Bowl era. So I think from the narrative, if we're going purity, uninterrupted, these are the two.
At the end of the day, I'll watch these games because, like I said, divisional round, I'll watch them. There's usually some excitement in a lot of these games, regardless if you got somebody in the game or not. You hope for good games. You don't want blowouts. Like wild card weekend, like there was some ass kicking that took place in a lot of games. You want enjoyable, fun, entertaining games. You don't want it penalty ridden. You want it somewhat back and forth. Like in games like this, though, I'm not opposed to like defensive struggles. You know what I mean? Yes, they're somewhat boring to watch to a degree, but at the same time, it makes it interesting because usually they're not low scoring in the postseason in any shape, form, or fashion. Somebody's putting up points.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope for good games at the end of the day. Like I said, I don't give a shit. The only team I'm rooting against, period, is the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I really don't care.
Can have a new hashtag starting. Don't scoff at Goff.
Yeah, I think I saw something in the after Detroit won. Dan Campbell talking about Goff being good enough for Detroit. So, of course, that's kind of a jab at Stafford to a degree, but still.
Makes sense.
I like Stafford. Stafford's somewhat a local kid.
Mm-hmm.
But, like nobody expected them to really be where they were in the first place.
No.
At least not so soon after their Super Bowl win. But I'm hoping for some good games. I can't sit here and say they should be good games because, sometimes you say that and then you're overly disappointed. As a fan of football, I want them to be good games. I want them to be enjoyable to watch. I want some theatrics. I want the freaking Cincinnati Kansas City game that freaking, went back and forth in the last, 2.5 minutes of the game or whatever.
Yep.
I want those type of finishes because that was the best freaking football I've ever seen in my life. Of course, Kansas City was on the winning side, unfortunately. But anyways, it was still, that was just crazy and fun to watch.
No, if you have one or two of the games blowouts, I mean not only bad for us football fans, but bad for the networks because why are you going to watch something that's 31-6 or something in the third quarter? I'm like, I'm not.
Yep, I'm turning it off.
Take a nap or watch something else, or yeah, it's plenty to do.
So you're saying the NFL shouldn't have loaded the game too early, too soon, too soon? Bring it all back around.
Square.
So, question for you guys: do you want to touch on the infamous YouTube Sports Car Hall of Fame for a couple minutes there, just so at least you get it in there, since you got it in the title?
I'm curious to know if we're actually going to get it this year. But in all fairness,
Sure.
the video last year I think came out on the 17th. So we're not there yet. So there is always.
So it feels like this week is critical. This week is critical.
I would put my money on if it's going to be done again this year, we should know something this week. Is what I would think. Would be my guess. Maybe
Dave, you look like you want to say something. That's why I want to let you start. I can say things. I've got, aside from making fun of floating head, this is one of my favorite things to make fun of. It really is. It's one of the great joys of my calendar. I mark it on my content god's calendar and be like, all right, we're ready. Random shit happens all year, but this one I got on the calendar. I got it marked. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, if there's a video that's not out by next Monday, I won't say it's dead in the water, but because I know I've seen Jake posting some stuff on Insta, some pics on there of cards, and even an update would be nice. But at the same time, I do like the suspense. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that just crossed that 3-year threshold. I think January 3rd or 4th. I know for us it's the 5th, but other people that are very adamant about trying to get into this fictitious Hall of Fame.
But in all fairness, the IRP has been around. We started in August.
Yes.
So technically, but from the channel perspective, it's been 3 years. Just throwing it out there. And just remember, Carlos, you went big time last year. You got a huge nomination last year. Come on now.
Massive. It's craziness.
Weren't you in the top 10? Final votes?
somewhere in the lower part of it, yeah. Like it was pretty good. Like I think it was somewhere in the 20s, which is pretty good. Like I feel like that's pretty solid. But like I said, I took it with the appropriate. Like I said, part of the reason that's so much fun for me. So but it's fun for me to make fun of because it's so silly. It's enjoyable from that perspective. It gave me an excuse last year to be like, all right, what kind of bullshit can I pull off here? All right, I'm going to talk to my own logo. Why not? I can have a lot of fun. The only thing I've been racking my brain trying to think of another idea. I was like, what can I do? I actually have something in mind. It would be insulting how easy it would be to do, and that would be like on brand for the appropriate amount of seriousness to take it. But it's silliness. It is what it is. But I think it's one of those things where the original, if you took it at this original concept, it was fine. It got twisted immediately because it becomes a popularity contest. It becomes like, oh, hey, I'll vote for you. You vote for me. The only reason that it would be interesting, if I was them, the only reason that I would consider like not doing it would be because I know a sports car dad is going to campaign. And by the rules, he's befriended enough channels that would qualify as voting capable channels who otherwise have nothing to do with any of this bullshit. But by the rules, unless you change the rules, which would also be funny. If you literally change the rules mid-flight, that would be hilarious. Also amusing. But by the current rules, you could stuff the ballot box. Like if you did it as a coordinated thing, you could 100%. Oh, this channel's been around making videos for more than a year, therefore they can vote, and they're going to vote for me. And this one of the ones going to vote for me. It's like, all right, you got 60 votes. There you go, first place. You're in. It could be done if someone cared enough to coordinate it. Like based on the rules, you could just all you got to figure out is who qualifies that would do that for you, and then you could pretty much stuff the ballot box all by yourself and just align it. And there you go. It would ruin the sanctity of a Hall of Fame that would have Bob Lewis as a member.
Yeah, because like you said, kind of in all fairness, unless you change it to be collector focused, which is why, I mean, Jabs has gotten votes, Floating Head has gotten votes,
Sporker Radio.
Yep. Pac-Man, I am surprised they don't have a breaking category. Honestly,
I think that would require a level of thought and sophistication that I don't think was originally in the fact that Jake even went through the trouble making a website already took it to another level of kind of unintentional comedy. I've enjoyed occasionally pulling up the website and going, yep, there's a website. Here it is. Scroll through. And let's look at how many channels are no longer even active and haven't made a video in 2 years.
That's the thing that bothers me more than anything. I think is the push, the drive. Those that have made it in haven't made a video. Like it's unfortunate, but there's only so many. You can only put so many stipulations. You know what I mean? It's like then original premise great. Get to find other people. At a time in which YouTube was kind of getting reinvigorated, I guess, to a degree from the sports card space. Popularity is definitely a thing. That's always been a thing. That's going to continue to be a thing. But, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I think what became of it after a while is that the problem with the popularity thing is that there's two ways to do it. Is one is you intentionally court, again, you campaign effectively, you politic. That's one thing. But the thing is always, and that's why I kind of enjoy the idea that Dustin would go out of his way to try to campaign for it. Is that he doesn't get I've had conversations with the guy offline separately from it. I don't think he understands why his channel has as many subscribers as it has. I think he's decided that it's because he's doing something amazing or well. Like I've literally watched, and I'm sitting there, it's like, dude, your stuff's the most basic thing in the world. And he'll get mad and be like, well, you wouldn't say that if you had more subscribers. Like, dude, it's not a pissing contest. You wouldn't have as many subscribers if you had if you started your channel right now. If I deleted your channel and you started again, you wouldn't have 20,000 subscribers. It was right time, right place, the lowest common denominator, basic stuff that the right people subscribe to. It works. I'm not saying no, but at least understand how you got there. At least figure it, at least self-reflect on how we arrived at this destination.
Isn't it the 1 year? Make videos for a year. That's who
make videos for 1 year. That's it. Yep. Make videos for 1 year, and you get.
That's who gets the vote. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to make a video ballot. That's it.
Yep. A video.
That is the full extent. Yep. From the voter perspective, the bar is very straightforward, very simple.
eligible channels have to be making videos for 3 years.
Correct. Yep. 3
Currently.
years actively. Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah. And then you can be, that means you're eligible to be on a ballot.
Correct.
And that is and that concludes the criterion
Yeah.
as it stands today.
It's supposed to be collector based, but that's not in the voting criteria.
Mhm.
Because those that are those are in it are collectors. They're not breakers. They're not investors. They're not influencers. Doesn't mean that won't change unless something changes in the rules and stipulations.
No investors, eh? Isn't Ed in there? We don't count as Doge dalliances. We don't count that as hashtag investing.
See, but remember, Wesker Griff is in, but Crypto Grifter is not.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. The loophole. I see what's happening here. I see.
Hey, I'm just, trying to, get some clarity out there, right?
I'm all about the scholarship, Steve. We got to have clarity out there. We need that. That's important.
I try my best.
And when did he get in? That might have been before
Who, Ed?
before the boom.
First or second year.
So I mean before the boom, so that he wasn't crypto grifter just yet. Then he
Could be.
switched
It's before he gave into the dark side.
Yeah, he switched his focus to being a flipper.
Could be fair. Might be the case. I'll see if I
So
can
there-
get confirmation.
SGC, there's a big history when it comes to Sports Card Dad. I'll leave it at that.
Facts.
It all started last year. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, it's been one of the great joys of my like I said, for me, that's kind of why I was looking forward to this year. I was like, please do it. Please. I want this so badly. I want the campaign video. I want the reactions to the campaign video. You can't do this. This is the sanctity. And I'm sitting there like, Bob Lewis is in this shit. What are you talking about? Holy crap. Good Lord. Be
But Ed
amazing.
was first or second year. Maybe it was second year.
Yeah, I'll be able to confirm in a second. I'm pulling up the website. I'll be able to tell you in just a moment. I shall confirm.
I had it up earlier, and I just.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I went ahead.
Jesus, 2018 was like 40 billion people. Yeah, you're right. Second class. Yep, 2019.
Yeah.
Got it here.
Okay. Yeah, because it was what 10, 10, 10.
Yes, that is correct.
And then the last 2 years, it's been 5.
Yep. That is correct.
So right now, 40 people. Double check my math. Is it 40?
I will double check.
Pretty sure. Because it's been going since 2018. 18, 19, 20. No, 45. Maybe it's 55. Because if it's 2018,
It's 50.
2019.
It's 50. It's
Okay.
50.
So 2018, 19, 20, and 21 were all 10s.
Mhm.
So Jake's only been doing it for 2 years. This would be the third
That is correct.
year. Okay.
That is correct. Yep. Because I went quickly. They had them in rows of 4, 12 rows of 4, 48, and then 2 more. 50 under that.
No, Carlos is not in the Hall of Fame. Carlos is not in the
Alas.
Hall of Fame.
Alas. Dave and I were on the outside looking in. Under the old rules, we would have been in. But under the new, more restrictive rules, we're on the outside. We're on the glass. Let us in.
Yep.
Let us in. Justice. We only seek fairness.
just on the outside looking in, as Carlos said.
It's tragic. Truly tragic.
I've already got my list if it comes out. My list will be the same minus Brad since he got in last year. And yes, Carlos, not that you care, but you were still
It is
on
the
my
most
list.
prestigious thing. It's like the only thing I care about in this community ever, Steve. You know, I'm all over it. So I've got it in front of me here. So last year, Dave was 8th here on this list. And I'm actually just outside the top 10. I thought it was right inside, but you got the 5 people and then 14. So, and Dave and I are pretty close. Like Dave had 25 votes. I had 21. So like, it's pretty close. Like you get within a couple of votes, they're all kind of hovering around each other. It's pretty tightly clustered there.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see outside of Sports Card Dad who's gonna actively campaign and push. It'll be interesting. This is always fun times.
Like I said, Steve, it's like this is my Christmas. I don't care about actual Christmas as much as like, come on, guys, this is my favorite thing that you've done for years. It's so fun for me.
I will say, like, there have been a few people who have asked us, because the IRP can be voted on this year.
Sure.
We hit the 3-year mark as far as the IRP channel.
Yeah.
No, Sports Card Investor is not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Remember, this is supposed to be collector focused, but that is not a qualification. So
that's what I was going to say. That's part of the reason I joked about it. Yeah.
He could be in. Yes.
Yeah. That's been the running joke, is that if any of these guys actually gave a crap,
correct.
One of the guys that has gotten votes before is Packers Card 87. He's gotten the odd vote here and there, but with his following, like if he knew about it or even gave a shit, like he could totally, like he could leverage, like I think he's like 80 or 90,000 subscribers. He could totally wrangle up enough people that would qualify under this requirement to again 100%. Stuff the ballot box. Like if he wanted to do, but he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't know anybody. Then he goes, well, why do I want to? I'm opening boxes and doing other shit, man. I'm busy.
But like people have asked us, it's like, vote for you as individuals or as the IRP, and it's like, I would rather you vote for the IRP than for me as an individual. One, it actually gives you an extra vote to vote for somebody else. If you choose to vote for us, is all I'm saying. This is not me campaigning.
Yeah.
But if you vote for the podcast, that gives you technically an extra vote. Because if you vote for Dave and I individually, you're now down to 8. You vote for the IRP, you have 9 other votes. So
I would also argue that the IRP channel is more actively creating videos with the live stream. So I feel like right now it would contemporary.
Oh, without a doubt.
It would be like, no, you're getting a regular live every week. So like it's the current channel. Between the two of you, collaboratively, it's the current channel. So if you're going to choose and you want to just use a spot, it probably makes more sense.
Pretty much. And we've, I mean, Dave and I have talked, and even Vinny, we would, if it were to happen, we would rather it happen as this anyways. So, like,
makes
individual accolades, who gives a shit? We've had more fun and enjoyment doing this over the last 3.5 years. This isn't a chore. Making a video and showing pickups seems like a chore these days. And I hate to say that because it used to not, but sometimes it feels like it. And it shouldn't. This is a hobby. This is all supposed to be fun. But this, we don't always have to prepare anything. We can just speak from our mind. If we talk the topic, we talk it. If we don't, we don't. So.
Hold on. I wasn't to that part of the script. I agree with you, Steve.
What are you trying to
Sorry,
say, Carlos?
I need to scroll to the right part. I'm sorry. I apologize. I fell behind. I fell behind on the teleprompter. My apologies.
Yeah, just like you do on your own show.
Listen, that is a 4-hour performance. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to sustain character and be that much of an asshole for 4 straight hours? That's hard work, Steve.
For you, no, it's not.
I do. It's a work of passion.
It's the easiest part of your fucking week. What are you talking about?
Flick on switch. Let's go. Let's go, bitches. On. Game on.
Live. Like, that's all you have to worry about.
But I like to let Eric believe that he is a method actor. Eric wants to believe that he's an artiste putting out a performance. And it's like, yeah, me too. Totally. Like, offline, I'm like the nicest guy in the world.
Dave, any closing comments?
Dave says, vote for me.
Inundate Jake with, is there going to be a YouTube Hall of Fame question this year?
I really don't care one way or the other. Like I said, from entertainment value, it's definitely there. It is one of my favorite things. It's one of the favorite dumb controversies of the dumb controversies. It's my favorite one.
Yep.
It's one of the most enjoyable because literally it's free content for me. All right, what fresh bullshit do we have this year?
Yep.
It's always something. Always something. And I'm sitting there like in a certain way, it's like, Jake, don't take this away from us. This is like my favorite, and it's a tradition unlike any other. Like the Masters, it is an annual tradition where we enter into the realm of complete, unnecessarily dramatic bullshit. Let's go.
And we get people that used to put up videos on a Monday morning, take it down by early Monday afternoon, and then wonder why people hated them.
Yep.
For calling out and saying, why aren't you voting for these people? Why aren't you voting for them? They're my friends. Why aren't you voting for them? So.
Perhaps I don't like their shit.
Oh, come on now. They collect vintage baseball cards and vintage baseball cards alone. So you should vote for them regardless.
So does Carlos, but I don't vote for Carlos because of
lies. You can't even say it. You can't even fucking finish your sentence.
Shut up, Dave. Fuck you, Dave.
Wade Boggs would be pissed.
Darn.
Trust that.
Like my only hope is that my commitment to crushing Eric with mayonnaise reference that consistently nauseate him is really appreciated by the Academy this year. That's my hope. My hope is that my commitment to the bit. And as soon as we found out Gerard Mayo is the new head coach of the New England Patriots, I had a video package for Gerard Mayo. Don't think I didn't. It was one of my favorite things. My early candidate for 2024 end of year recap.
Yeah, I hope there's the thing because again, it's fun to watch in the sense that it gives you it makes it feel like old school YouTube, whereas a bunch of videos every day you need to see. Not only, hey, maybe I'll pick up a person I want to follow, but to hear just like asinine bullshit when people say, why are you not voting for my channel? I do this, I do that. Why am I not being voted for? Well, if you don't integrate yourself within like some of these live streams of the community, nobody knows who the fuck you are. You make one video a year bitching about not getting any votes for a fictitious Hall of Fame. That might be a hint. So
I have still found channels, so it's still serving the purpose. That's the one positive I will give it.
Yeah. And as long as there's 3 or 4 vintage only baseball collecting channels that get in, then everything's right with the world. If you're ranch certified, and if you collect 90s inserts, but you've been collecting since like 2019, give or take, then you should be in.
Mm.
Not only Wade Boggs, he'd approve. Joey Cora would too.
Wow. Wow.
And with that,
So with that, we're off to Alaska for Carlos,
no.
for Steve, for Vincenzo and Robert. We thank you. Like the video. Eric must pay. Through the nose or elsewhere, it doesn't matter. He must pay. Go team. Which team, it doesn't matter. Just go. And we thank you for watching. Remember, collecting cards, wonderful hobby. The friendships you forged along the way, that's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.